Okay. 6 o'clock. We'll call the Board of Zoning Appeals meeting for June 4th, 2024 to order. We'll have a roll call.
London Smith. Here.
Kathy Stallworth.
Bill Burkhalter, Jim Newman.
All right. First thing we'll do is go over the minutes from last time. Do y'all have any questions or corrections or anything?
No question. No.
Well, I do. It said we had a call to order at 6 p.m. and we adjourned at 6 p.m. and we had 4 pages of stuff. So that needs to be changed.
We'll put it in the appropriate time if that's all right.
But the appropriate time, right. That's the only thing I found. Okay. All right. Tommy, is there anything to add to the agenda?
No, ma'am.
Change?
No changes.
All right. Well, we'll have a public hearing now, and our first order of business will be to consider ZV 24-005. It's a request by Carol J. Pulliam for a variance from the side yard setbacks listed in section 4.12.11 of the North Augusta Development Code to allow a deck and a carport addition to an existing residence. The request affects approximately 0.21 acres zoned CPMU corridor preservation mixed use located at 1001 Georgia Avenue, tax parcel number 007-07-15-008. So we'll have the public hearing now. Is there anybody to speak to this?
Want me to go first?
What time you want to speak first, please?
Yes, ma'am.
What's going on?
Yes, ma'am. This is an application, as you described, the Corridor Preservation Mixed Use, or CPMU, requires a 5-foot setback from the side property line. This is an overview of the subject parcel here. You can see the driveway on the satellite photo there. This is a survey of the property on the left. On the right shows where the addition would be. Whenever you see that, the box typically shows the property line. Originally, when they came to see us, they wanted to extend out over the roadway. In our discussions, they realized that was not a good idea, and that was a high bar to hurdle. So the variance is to go up to the property line and not extend beyond it. This gives you an idea of what they're looking at. And this is an even better look. Over on the left is what it looks like now. Over on the right would give you an indication of what they would like to do. And then this is the type of decking that they're talking about. This would allow them to pull the car in underneath, or a portion of the car underneath, and then have a deck from upstairs that they can come out and sit.
So it would give cover for the cars partially.
Partially, yes.
Partially, okay. Plus give them some outdoor space. No, sir. See the yellow box there? That's their approximate property line. And then this is a better look at their property line. But it does not go all the way to the asphalt, as you can see there. That's what they wanted to do. But of course, you've got the street right of way that extends beyond the asphalt. And as I explained to them, in that right of way is a lot of utilities, water, sewer, telephone, cable. And so if that needs to be worked on, they need to be able to get the equipment in there to work it.
That's it. Yes, ma'am.
All right, now the public hearing will open. Was anybody here to speak to this issue? No one from the, are the Pulliams here? Oh, would you like to speak to this? It would behoove you to do that. You have to come up here and get sworn in.
So they can hear you on the mic. We need to get it recorded.
All right, would you please state your name and address?
My name is Dean Gaskins. I live at 120 Ridgecrest Road in Graniteville, and I'm here representing the Pulliams.
All right, would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
All right.
Mr. Tommy here, he's given a great presentation of exactly what we're asking to do. The only thing I will add is the supporting structure itself will be even further off of the property line. Only the deck will extend to the property line, which is roughly 10 feet, off the ground.
10 feet off the ground?
Yeah, 9 to 10 feet off the ground.
Okay, all right. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Gaskins?
Yes. So the supporting structure, how far off the property line would it roughly be?
3 feet.
3 feet?
Yes, sir.
Tommy, is there a side setback?
5 feet.
5 feet. I'm a little confused here now. The deck will be 3 feet from the property line. The deck itself.
The deck itself will go to the property line.
To the property line.
Yes. So what you see, the handrails are connected to up there, that will go to the property line. The brick columns that are behind it, that will be 3 feet off.
That's
the property
what I was confused about.
Gotcha.
Anybody else have any questions?
My only concern, and I think you've already answered it, is if there is infrastructure in that right-of-way, other than going through their existing driveway, this addition is not going to affect that infrastructure. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct. Because we don't, we agree that we would not go onto the right-of-way, outside of the property line, between the property line and the asphalt. That's where the utilities are located.
So the deck goes to the property line, the supporting structure is 3 feet off.
Yes, ma'am.
And Tommy, usually when the house could be, let's say 5 feet, but your soffit and fascia could be overhang into that, isn't that normal?
There is some that allows that. There is an exception for decks to encroach into the setbacks. However, there's a certain height on that, and that exceeds this height. So the exception for the decks going into the setback would not apply here.
Okay.
All right. Any more questions for Mr. Gaskins? All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone else want to comment? Now, I'm going to read these one time for variances try to make the meeting slightly shorter. There are 10 things that we have to find in the affirmative. I'm going to read them now. And when it's your turn to come up, if you want them repeated, I certainly will. But right now I'm going to read them one time. But that can change if you don't remember or have a question. We have to find in the affirmative these 10 things. An unnecessary hardship exists. There are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property. The conditions do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. Because of the conditions, the application of this chapter to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. The authorization of a variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent property or to the public good, and the character of the district will not be harmed by the granting of the variance. Harm to the character of the district may include structures that are significantly out of scale and the creation or potential for the creation of excessive noise, light, traffic, or incompatible late-night activity. If the approval of an application for a variance from the provisions of Article 13, signs regulating the size, height, appearance, or location of a sign, the Board of Zoning Appeals shall also find that no alternative signage solution that complies with the provisions of Article 13 is available and would provide adequate visibility, recognition, and understanding. 7, the Board of Zoning Appeals may not grant a variance, the effect of which would be to allow the establishment of a use not otherwise permitted in a zoning district, to extend physically a non-conforming use of land, to change zoning district boundaries shown on the official zoning map. 8, if the unnecessary hardship is self-imposed by the applicant, the variance should not be granted. 9, the fact that property may be utilized more profitably should a variance be granted shall not be considered grounds for a variance. And 10, in granting a variance, the Board of Zoning Appeals may attach to it such conditions regarding the location, character, or other features of the proposed building, structure, or use as the board may consider advisable to promote the public health, safety, or general welfare. We have to find in the affirmative for all of those, and if we get to number 4 and it's not in the affirmative, it's over. So, does anybody have any questions? Do y'all have any questions about that? All right. So we'll close the public hearing and we'll begin discussion on this. All right, an unnecessary hardship exists. The applicant states that due to the shape and narrowness of the lot, combined with the required side yard setback of 5 feet for the CPMU zoning district, the strict requirements of the North Augusta Development Code create a hardship for the owner by limiting the options for additional functional improvements to their property. And staff notes that the existing house takes up the majority of the width of the lot and in general is more narrow than the neighboring lots. All right. My only, this is just something that I was thinking about, that perhaps Arlington Heights, is that Arlington Heights or Summit, was more narrow when it was maybe a dirt road when this was built. You know, so it probably when it was paved, it extended the width of the road. So are y'all all right on number 1? Okay. Number 2, there are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to a particular piece of property. The applicant states that the property owners do not have a place to park their vehicles out of the elements on the property. The request to allow a reduction in the required side yard setback for a corner lot to allow the construction of a deck to the existing structure, creating covered parking for the property owner, would deprive the owners of their right to freely enjoy the same feature shared by other owners in the same zoning district. Staff notes that the current parking pad encroaches on the East Arlington Heights right-of-way, and the addition of a deck and carport structure covers the area currently being used by the property owner. Now, I'm just a little leery about that one in that how did the parking pad, Tommy, was allowed?
If you look at this, you'll see how the parking pad, how the driveway cuts in there.
Right.
It's not that there's any problem there.
Okay.
It's just when you see the car parked there, it goes across the property line. And that's what she meant by the current parking encroaches into the right of way.
All right. Okay. Any discussion on that one? Any questions about it?
Okay.
London? No. All right, so we're okay on that one. The conditions do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. The applicant states that the corner lot is smaller than the adjacent lots and limits options to improve the property. The state granting variance creates a dual-use improvement without decreasing the remaining space. Staff notes that the majority of surrounding property owners have a driveway area that leads to parking in the rear of their lot, and that this specific combination is not possible on this particular lot. Well, I think that it doesn't apply to other lots in there.
You look at the other ones beside it to the right, kind of get a comparison, but they do seem like a broader lot.
They're wider. That's right. Are y'all okay with that one, Bill? Okay. Because of the conditions, the application of this chapter to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. Okay, the applicant states that the zoning requirements significantly limit the options for the property owners to create a deck and covered parking place area. Staff notes that the requested configuration allows the property owners to continue parking their vehicles in the existing parking area without adding impervious surface area to the lot. I'm okay with that one.
Yes.
They're
Okay with
already
that.
parking there. 5, the authorization of a variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent property or to the public good, and the character of the district will not be harmed by the granting of the variance. Harm to the character of the district may include structures that are significantly out of scale and the creation or potential for the creation of excessive noise, light, traffic, or incompatible late-night activity. The applicant states that granting the variance will not create any adverse impacts to the health, safety, or general welfare of the public. They state the proposed design is consistent with the current character of the property and surrounding neighborhood and will not detract from the character of the surrounding area. Staff notes that the proposed use does not impact the health or safety of the public.
No problem.
All right. 6 is about signs, and that's not applicable in this case. 7, the Board of Zoning Appeals may not grant a variance, the effect of which would be to allow the establishment of a use not otherwise permitted in a zoning district. This does not do that. To extend physically a non-conforming use of land. The variance does not extend physically non-conforming use of land. To change zoning district boundaries, which are shown on the official map, and we're not doing that.
Okay with that.
Okay.
All right, that was 7. Number 8. If the unnecessary hardship is self-imposed by the applicant, the variance should not be granted. The applicant states that the hardship is created by the unique shape of the lot. Staff notes that the requested use is a continuation of an established use. The lot shape does not allow parking in the current area to be covered without encroachment into the required setbacks. So that's what we're about here now. And I think it's going to be improvement. Are y'all okay with that one?
Yes.
Number 9, the fact that property may be utilized more profitably should a variance be granted shall not be considered grounds for a variance. Staff recognizes that should the variance be granted, the property would not operate more profitably. So I think that's a given right there. 10, in granting a variance, the Board of Zoning Appeals may attach to it such conditions regarding the location, character, or other features of the proposed building, structure, or use as the board may consider advisable to promote the public health, safety, or general welfare. Staff has got a few conditions. This variance, if granted, will apply only to this property and will not apply to any future development on the site should this plan not be developed. The variance would require that the building footprint be constructed as conceptually shown in the exhibits. So those are the conditions that we would put on this. Yeah. You okay?
Yep.
All right, well, we found in the affirmative for all of them. The last one will have conditions. All right. Are we ready for a vote?
Yes, ma'am, you need me to make a motion?
Please do.
Based on the findings previously discussed and voted on, I move that application number ZV24-005, a request by Carol Pullum, the variance per section NADC section 4.12.11 side setbacks be approved with conditions.
Second.
Second.
Do we have to repeat those conditions?
No, ma'am. That's part of the motion.
Hmm?
I believe he included those in the motion.
No, I need to
did
read
not.
it real quick.
It just say referenced in the
Um,
material.
Can I say just reference in the material?
Correct.
Yes, as referenced in the material.
Do we have a second?
So,
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Done. I think it's going to be a nice addition. All right, thank y'all. Y'all can stay, it's fine, or you can go get us supper and bring back. All right, number two, the second one is a, request for special exception. And I'll read that.
Excuse me, ma'am. I think it's the variance, the second one.
Oh,
This is the River Club.
this is the waiver variance. What are we doing?
This is the variance. This is
Variance,
the variance.
okay. We were confused about this. The special exception comes next. A request, this is ZV24-006, a request by the River Golf Club for a variance from section 13.3 of riparian buffers on the North Augusta Development Code to allow for an encroachment into a wetland buffer to construct a new golf shop and locker room. The request affects a portion of 12.9 acres zone PD plan development located 307 Riverside Boulevard, tax parcel 007-19-04-1-001. So, in plain English, they want to encroach into a wetland buffer to build a new building. All right, Tommy?
Yes, ma'am. This is a little bit different than what y'all normally see with setbacks and size of signs and that type of thing. The prior code, the River Club is looking at building a new locker room, and they want to put that where the existing cart barn is. They would tear the cart barn down and build it on that site. However, the cart barn, I will get it out in a minute, I'm sorry, was built under the previous code. The previous code allowed you to go up to 25 feet in the riparian buffer. That was changed in the recently adopted code to 50 feet. So when they tear that down, the building down, our current ordinance doesn't allow it to be rebuilt. I use the expression that the grandfathering, granddaddy has passed. So this is a request to basically build back in the riparian buffer what they had, the same footprint as the existing barn. Staff would recommend that it be limited to the existing footprint and not an increased square footage into the buffer. But of course, that's y'all's call. Any questions for me?
So the new building will not be going into the 25-foot, the old zone?
At the exhibit
Which
that
is
I've got up there now,
correct?
you can see this is the 50-foot buffer.
Correct.
This is the 25-foot buffer.
So you won't be, well, I can ask them.
Yeah.
They won't be going into the 25.
They won't get into the old 25-foot buffer. Correct.
Where's the cart? Where are they going to store the golf carts now? That they're tearing
That's a
down?
question for them.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. You have to go somewhere. So.
Be like the National, dig underground.
That's right. Okay.
Anything else, Tommy?
That's it for me.
All right, we'll open this to the public hearing. Anybody have anything to say to this application? Please state your name and your address.
Chris Verdery, 84 Woodlawn Lane, North Augusta.
All right, please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth and the whole truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right.
Yep. Thanks for everybody being here. So, yeah, this is an exciting opportunity for us. Our club is looking to establish our brand even more nationally. To do that, to secure national events, we need to improve our facilities. And to do that, we need to expand our locker facility, our fitness area, our new golf shop. Just in general, our entire club is elevating. So we wanted to build this new building where the existing cart barn is, and it was a little bit surprised to us that the ordinance had changed, or whatever the proper term would be, with the going from 25 feet to 50 feet. We're simply asking to try to build a new building the same place as the cart barn, not extend within the 50 feet any more than it already is. Answer about the carts, we've built a new pavilion, which is fantastic. You can come down and see it. Underneath that is in the basement of the pavilion we've made allocations to house our golf carts. So that's going to be a nice addition for us. And it afforded us the opportunity to basically build something else in place of the cart barn, which is not a particularly attractive building. So it certainly would be a win-win for us in this situation. I think the thing that I want to really emphasize is the hardships that this would cause us if this variance was not awarded. Certainly respect the rules, and they're all born out of necessity and for the best of the community. In our situation, if we were not allowed to build basically within the same footprint, we would need to build the building in another place. We do not have another place that works for us. If we needed to move it outside the 50-foot buffer, that would cause a lot of problems with our golf club. We would lose parking. We would be tearing down or cutting down really trees that would be are really positive for our entire club. Our operation in general would suffer, just the way the traffic would flow with both car traffic and foot traffic, and just the way we run our business with members and guests. So I think those are some of the highlights of what I wanted to emphasize. Once again, I think this is a pretty new actual ordinance. So if we started this 3 months ago, I'm not sure, maybe Tommy can allude to that, but it was a little bit unfortunate. I think we're just, a couple of months later, maybe 6 months late. This was a new ordinance. I know that doesn't really, it's not exactly, not asking for a mulligan there on that one. But anyway, I think those are some of the hardships that really are extenuating circumstances for us, that I'd like for you to strongly consider.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Now, I have a question. You wanted to extend to 6,000 square feet versus 46 or 47. Is that correct?
The building will be bigger. However, anything that's new above the footprint, or the square footage of the existing cart barn, would be way out of the 50-foot.
Oh, okay.
I have one other question. Sorry.
Again, is that-
I think part of the as I'm looking at this on the left, there's a black shadow, but the red line shows the proposed building line. If you had the golf shop and on the left, it appears that it would fit, maybe even without losing one parking space. And a deck could go over there, that triangular deck, partially under that tree. I'm just asking, was that considered?
I probably would defer to our architect, Richard Fletcher, who's here. He's kind of been using his creative genius on the best way to fit this building in there.
Okay.
I think I know the answer, but I'd hate to answer that incorrectly, especially with my sworn testimony. So
Okay.
I think he'd probably be better to answer that question.
All right.
State your name and
Hello.
address, please.
Richard Fletcher, 1 Shadowmore Court, North Augusta.
You swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right. Can you answer Mr. Burkhalter's question?
Sure, I'll try. As with a lot of design projects, this one it's in schematic design and it is still in flux to a degree. Where this past week, Chris said, "Wouldn't it be great if our fitness room was situated where it would have views of the practice range?" And I thought that's a wonderful idea. And so we're exploring that possibility. But generally speaking, the number one functional change we're trying to make here is to put the golf shop where it has visual control over the practice range, the first tee, the ninth green, practice range, or the practice green here in the bottom of the picture. The 10th tee is just crucial that it be as far out to the right as we can get it. So that was priority one. The yellow area that you see there is the current encroachment. I guess that it became non-conforming back in December when the new development code was adopted. And so the golf shop over to the right in that non-conforming area, it's roughly 1,900 square feet. The part that I'll say this, you mentioned the shadow and looking at this image, there are some dark shadows there. And as a designer, trying to figure out exactly where the center line of that creek is was very difficult off of a satellite image. I didn't think at the time to look at a better image, so I went back to 2007, which is, 8 years after the club was opened, and the satellite image there was so much better. If you don't mind, I'll pass out a couple of additional images that might provide some clarity. Is that okay?
Yep.
Sure.
Okay, I've given one to Paradise already. The first one is just a straight satellite shot. You can see there's not as much vegetation.
Thank you.
The second one, I'll peel off the bottom of the deck.
All right.
That is the one that shows our most current building footprint in yellow. And the pink area is the impervious surface that we currently have. That includes the cart path. Well, it's sort of an area where they wash down the carts before they put them in the barn. That would be there at the top of the image near that large concrete parking area. And then it includes an overhang, like a covered work area where they're cleaning the carts, and then the cart barn itself, that portion that encroaches that you see on that image in yellow. And so when you look at the entire pink area of 1,980 square feet, that is very similar to the area that we're proposing to encroach on between the 50 and 25 foot setback. We would not cross that 25-foot setback line, and we would construct back only the amount of encroachment that we've currently made, if that makes sense. And so
That you currently have now.
correct. And so the net effect of that is that we would have a condition that's very similar to what you have now, only it supports the new business model of the River Club and the brand that Chris is trying to create. Does that help clarify? And I'll answer any questions you have.
Anybody
Could I
else?
make a comment?
Please.
A correction. He, and I had not picked up on this till he said this, but the measurements on this is from the center line of the creek, if I'm correct.
In this particular one, Mr. Paradise, the creek was so well defined that I was able to trace that out and then offset 25 feet and 50 feet. So I feel a lot better about this one being reflective of the current ordinance, which is measured from the edge or high water mark of the creek.
And that's why I want to make sure that y'all were aware of where the standard was.
When the club was built, it was actually under the zoning development standards ordinance, CDSO, which was measured from the center line of the creek. But in 2007, when we adopted the new development code, it went to the high water mark or the edge of the creek. If that makes sense.
Has that changed substantially in all these years?
The location of the creek?
Well, the high water mark, that sort of thing.
I
Just
think
curious.
it's, Chris, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that creek, is it spring fed? It's in all the years I've been a member there since '99, and I don't recall ever seeing that creek out of its banks. I don't know why that is. It must not be a watershed for a very large area. That's all I can figure. But it's usually crystal clear and in a very defined bank line.
Okay, I just was curious about that. Okay. Anybody else have any questions for
I'm good.
Richard?
Why did I see it sort of makes an L shape to the right, going
Yes.
further into the encroachment area?
Yes.
That L shape, to me, the original footprint is obviously more square with this L going out. Why?
Yes.
Why? And I'm just playing devil's advocate. Why can't we keep the square
Yeah.
design and do less encroachment as opposed to making this L outwards plus deck?
Yeah, that's a great question, and there's a really good functional reason for that. When the staff
Can you
is-
speak more into the microphone? This is being recorded, and I don't know
Sure.
if we can hear you.
I'm sorry. When the staff is in the golf shop, one of the toughest things they have to do is manage the groups of players as they're going off the first tee, and in a lot of cases on the 10th tee. And so there are all these groups practicing and warming up, getting ready to go. There are people practicing their putting. And somehow this group of folks has to organize all these people into groups of 4, usually. And they have to get them to the tee at a certain time. It is not easy to keep up with people who are spread out over several acres. And so by pushing that golf shop out as far as we can, it improves views to the practice range. So they can see, oh, well, there's Richard Fletcher down there hitting massive slices over to the right of the range as he's getting ready to play. it's just a functional reason that we pushed it out that way.
Will people be starting their rounds checking into that golf shot? Because I know in the current setup, I think you go to the existing clubhouse, which has a view of
That
every
is correct.
location.
That is absolutely correct, and that's the way it was designed. I think Chris would tell you that it was never very functional the way that it was designed. And they are constantly going in and out of doors, out onto the deck, sometimes into a cart to drive out far enough to see where people are. And so this fixes something that was built incorrectly at the start.
You couldn't use cameras or any other device.
I suppose cameras do a lot of things these days, but I mean, this allows them to use their own eyes.
Questions?
Yes, the pink part that you say is impervious, is covering.
Yes.
In the new structure, I think you said they're going to continue to have golf carts storage or something down in the lower deck. I mean, lower.
The golf carts are going into the new addition. It's called the pavilion. It's out of this picture to the south, but it's some 6,000 square feet, 2 levels, and in the lower level of that, that's where the golf carts will be housed going forward.
Well, the reason I was asking the question, is there a plan for this part that is primarily in the pink right here? If water were to come that far, would it go under a supported elevation there, or I mean, it's just overhung by the roof, or would it actually come up against the building?
Well,
In the 50-foot scenario.
yeah,
I got you.
yeah, there's. That's right. I'm just going to take a guess here that there's probably from the creek, the typical creek top of water elevation up to finished floor is probably 6 or 7 feet. It's much higher than the entire driving range. And so if there were a flood, that would be on dry ground and the driving range would be flooded. I don't think we've ever seen anything near that condition.
2 more questions I have. It says a new golf shop, so that means there was not a prior existing golf shop for profit of some kind on the property.
Well, golf shop is just, that's where there's several functions that happen. You check in and pay for your round. You let them know you're here. And 2, they have merchandise for sale. But yes, that currently happens in the building where you see the label existing clubhouse. In fact, it's pretty much under the word, under those words is where it is in the building.
And a new deck, what will that be used for?
It was with the locker room that we're adding. This was a place where members could possibly sit out and just enjoy being outside, enjoying views of the practice range. Staff would have a place where they could take a quick break, maybe have a lunch, that sort of thing, rather than have an entire building that didn't have an outdoor space. It's so pretty down there. We were trying to create a place where people could enjoy being outside.
One other quick question. In the pink, that's not in your yellow, excuse me, in the yellow lines of the building, would that all be grassed or landscaped or stuff of that nature?
Yeah, I think that could be any number of things. The River Club has, I tried to calculate it somewhere between 4 and 5 miles of creek bank, wetlands bank, pond bank.
But that's not
that
going to be
they
concrete
may-
or anything?
No, it
Yeah,
would
so there'll
not
be
be.
a,
It'll be planted so that
Okay.
any runoff that does come from the building is going through a vegetative filter, if you will. And I think the River Club has staff that's capable of planting vegetative material that you feel is appropriate.
so going back, if the yellow line is the plan of the new building, you'll actually be giving back way off the corner of the 25-foot line and putting more plantings there.
Correct.
Then-
We
then-
don't.
He's encroaching a little bit on the front part, but he's giving back towards
Right.
the back part, so he's really just swapping one
Swapping.
side to the other, so it's not
Right.
really taking up a whole lot.
Exactly.
I'm good.
Any more, Bill?
No.
London? Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you all so much for your time.
Now, this is a waiver, and we have to find in the affirmative for all the steps here. So I'm going to read those.
Well,
Mhm.
you may want to see if there's anybody else before you close the public hearing.
Okay, all right.
I want to ask the question.
Anybody else have anything to say? I didn't see anybody raise it, that's why. Okay, thank you, Tommy. The waiver is criteria. The waiver is granted. The waiver granted is the minimum waiver needed to address the site or design issue. The waiver does not authorize or use or type of development not otherwise permitted. Number 2, additional findings required. In addition to the general findings noted above for all special exceptions, no special exception permit shall be issued for a major waiver unless specific findings of fact are as noted below are made. So, general findings. That was it, right? Correct, Tommy?
Excuse me?
That was
Yes,
what,
ma'am.
those must be found in the affirmative.
Correct.
And are there
And
more than
then the
that?
general findings, he's provided sufficient information,
Right.
and he demonstrates through documentation or studies based on generally accepted engineering principles.
So the applicant has provided information sufficient to prove the need for and allow the board to assess the impacts of the requested waiver. Staff has determined the application is sufficient to review the waiver request. Where applicable, the applicant demonstrates through documentation or studies based on generally accepted engineering principles that adherence to the standard provided by this article would pose a threat to health or safety or would undermine the policy set forth in the comprehensive plan or the purposes underlying the standard. One of the goals of the 2021 comprehensive plan is to protect the Savannah River and other natural resources. As the Planning Commission worked with staff to develop and recommend a new development code for the city, special care was taken to ensure that the 50-foot riparian buffer was in place to protect the city's water resources. There is potential for the applicant to work with the designer to reconfigure the current footprint and extend the structure to the north and into the existing parking area, completely avoiding the wetland buffer. Staff recommends approval of this application with the following conditions. This variance, if granted, will apply only to the area bound by the building footprint for the golf shop and locker room project and will not apply to any future development on the subject parcel should this plan not be developed. The variance would require that the building be torn down and reconstructed to the extent that it currently encroaches into the wetland buffer area. Any additional new building footprint would not be allowed. All right, and
Madam Chairman,
yes,
if I could, on this, on number 1, if y'all may want to use this as an attachment A to go with the order to show what you approve, since it's a little bit different than what
what is in the staff
what
report.
we showed
Or
earlier.
if you want the staff report to indicate it, but it'd be good if you told me which way to go in your motion.
Okay,
I think this pink one is
yeah.
better.
Can I ask them a question? This is more to the design you going with compared to the original?
It is the closest that we have right now, based on a concept that Chris and I are going to be considering in the next few days. The encroachment to the north would probably be reduced because what we're doing is essentially replacing the locker room in this concept with a fitness room, which is smaller. So I think
But my big question is it going to deviate between these two dramatically? Because if we
no,
approve it,
no.
one
no.
of these, you're stuck to one of these.
Right. I think, if you were to say there can't be an encroachment of more than 1,900 whatever square
So
feet.
pink instead of blue.
Exactly. You could say total encroachment now is 1,900, and provided that applicant does not exceed that with new construction, that would give you a little bit of flexibility, much appreciated flexibility. Thank you.
That's a good point too, because if you notice the deck goes over the building, which is set back further than the deck on the blue. So
Yeah.
if we go with this one, yeah,
Better.
it's a better look.
Well,
sure.
B addresses that additional findings for building design. The board may permit a building to have different design characteristics, including, by example only without limitation, the design and placement of arcades, awnings, canopies, the design of facades, windows, or roofs, permitted exterior materials, building location, residential design, or the scale, size, and compatibility of design than those otherwise permitted by this article if it makes the following findings. The substitute design characteristics will preserve and protect the architectural and aesthetic qualities of the area. The substitute design characteristics will cause the building to meet or exceed the quality of building that would otherwise be permitted by this article. So what we're saying in the pink is better
Yes,
than what was presented.
originally.
It's a
Right.
lot better.
Okay.
So I recommend that Tommy, do we go ahead and let you put this into the new attachment now,
Yes, sir.
so we'll be officially on the record?
Yes.
And then reference it in the motions?
Yes. Now, just as he said, there's two ways of doing this. One is it ties them into this footprint of the building. Or two, allow no more than
1980.
1,980 square feet of encroachment into the 50-foot buffer, whichever way y'all want to do it.
I think we had it memorized.
I memorized all this.
I would like to stick with the pink
Pink.
plan
I
and
like that.
use the no more than 1980 square foot into the buffering zone. In case he needs to tweak this out a foot and suck that in a foot and so forth, that he gives him some flexibility and Tommy some flexibility. So I would recommend that we use the pink and attach it to the.
If that's-
Officially pink, okay?
Yeah,
That's-
but if that's the case, you may not want to include the pink. You may just want to reference the 1980 square.
But is that, but that 1980 is actually more because you're up here. That's inside. That 1980 is just in the pink, correct? So you got, see, some of the yellow is already in, which is part of the original.
Yes. Okay. However you want to do it.
All right.
Yes.
I'll cover you.
All right. Then C, additional findings for landscaping. The board may alter the site design requirements imposed by this article for proposed use, including by example only and without limitation, the design, location, and dimensional requirements for buffers and screening, if it makes the following additional findings. The aesthetic qualities of the area will be preserved and protected, and altering the site design requirements will cause the developer to meet or exceed the quality of the development that would otherwise be permitted by this article. And then D, additional findings for open space. Peculiarities in the tract of land would make this development or use unreasonable or use unreasonable under strict adherence to the standards of this article. Okay, and then 18.8.6, conditions on approval. To ensure that a proposed special exception will meet the criteria set forth above and to alleviate or mitigate potential adverse effects of such use, the BZA may place specific conditions on the approval addressing various issues, including by example only without limitation the following: location, size, and orientation of uses, structures, or enclosures. Additional setbacks for proposed uses, structures, or enclosures from property lines or other structures or subjects on nearby lots. So those additional landscaping things would be things like additional buffers, fencing of walls, shielding of lighting, pedestrian circulation, including sidewalks or other pedestrian connections, vehicle circulation, including points of ingress and egress, improvements on adjacent streets, location of paving, off-street parking and loading, and service and deliver areas, hours of operation, protection of trees and other natural assets, and additional landscaping, protection of sites of scenic, historical, or cultural importance, restriction on number, size, and location of signs, citing of uses to improve capability where with adjacent development, restrictions on or reduction of the extent or intensity of the proposed use. Okay, all that can be discussed now as we look at this. The first one, the waiver granted is the minimal waiver needed to address the site or design issue. The waiver does not authorize a use or type of development not otherwise permitted. Well, B is not a consideration, in my opinion, right? All right, now what do y'all think about A?
Well, I don't see, based on their concept, I understand that there may be some tweaks to that, but I don't see how they can do what they need to do or want to do without this minimal waiver they're requesting. So I guess I'm saying I think I'm all right.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, if they left it here, if they left the building there, it's the same thing they were given. They just turned down, put a new fancy building there.
Right.
I mean,
London.
in the whole
I agree
scheme
with
of
that.
things.
All right. Additional findings required. The applicant has provided information sufficient to prove the need for and allow the board to assess the impacts of the requested waiver.
Correct.
Okay. Let me just go over here now. All right, I guess I'm still back here. I think that's, are y'all all right with?
Yeah, they've provided
They've
enough.
shown all that. Bill, are you okay with that? All right, and we've talked about building design. Now, London, did you get your questions asked?
Yes, I did.
I'm good with.
You're good with that, Bill? Okay.
And a lot of that stuff, wouldn't that still fall under kind of Tommy, and wouldn't it still fall under you as far as, you know,
The
criteria and landscaping and lighting and?
the landscaping plan and the building design will still come to us. I believe, Madam Chairman, that B is additional findings if the waiver is for building design, which this is not. Well, I guess it might be.
I thought it was a different design,
And
or an additional.
yeah, the waiver is for the building to go into the,
Right, into the
into the.
wetland.
Correct.
But
It's
we've
not
got
about-
a different, slightly different design with extended with the deck and the, what was that, the pro shop?
And then the other with the landscaping, unless it's a waiver for landscaping. I don't think that.
We don't,
Yeah, which
they're
we're
not
not, yeah.
asking for that.
Correct.
Right, right.
So I don't think,
Okay.
same sheet there.
Oh,
So is this truly a waiver or a variance or a
It is-
special exception? 'Cause
It is
we've
a
done talk-
waiver. Now, let me be clear. Staff is struggling. Waivers used to go to the planning commission and they would be approved at type of site plan approval. With new development code in December, y'all got the privilege of deciding waivers. Whether it's a waiver or whether it is a variance depends upon which chapter of the code we're, for lack of a better word, varying or wavering. And so we had several applications this past time that I had to go back to staff and say, wait a minute, this is a waiver, not a variance, or a variance, not a waiver. So we're getting there.
This is a waiver.
because
is a
it
waiver.
it falls in the development code, a particular chapter in the development code, which is a chapter on waivers. I mean, it meets the
Yeah.
criteria for that. Is that correct, Tommy?
Yes, ma'am. It is in, we're varying 13.3 in chapter 13. 18.8.5 says major waivers. The BZA is authorized to grant a major waiver from the standards of this article for provisions contained in chapters 1, 2, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 17, and 19 only. Any deviations from chapters 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 15, 18 shall conform to the variance procedure.
Okay, so we make a motion, we're gonna call it a waiver.
Right.
And then we're
Correct.
just gonna wing it from there. All right, so I don't need to make a motion, or we have any more
Well,
questions?
the last one, do we need to talk about that location, size, and orientation of uses, structures, and enclosures? 18.8.6.
That is up to y'all.
Y'all look at that. It's the bottom of page 2 of 6.
I don't think that. Not- Yeah, as long as we included, I'm gonna include this whole new attachment. And I'll call out the 1980 as well.
That's really the key to it, I think.
Right.
So I'll include this in the motion.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think
No.
so. Well, I think that what they're talking about is they may have to tweak it a little bit, and a waiver gives you a more liberal
That's correct, and-
interpretation.
And with this and Tommy's kind-heartedness, we'll kind of work with that.
I tell you, if I did this every day, I'd just shoot. All right, are we ready for a motion? Any more discussion?
No, I can't think of anything.
All right, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the waiver ZV 24-006 presented by the River Golf Club regarding the major waiver requested NADC Section 13.3 riparian buffers with the new attachment presented at tonight's meeting, as we're calling Exhibit A, which is with the outline of the current building in yellow, with the pink with roughly 1980 square feet for approval.
Second.
Mr. Newman,
Yes, sir.
you cited 1980 square feet. All right. on that attachment A? Is it conceptually as shown there?
Conceptually as shown as is,
And the 1980 square feet, what does that mean toward the, is it 1980 square feet for the building?
gives him area to work in the 25-foot buffer line.
I think I know where you're going. Sounds
Okay.
good. Thank you.
Thank you for some guidance.
We've had Bill, you seconded that?
Yes.
Okay. We've had a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your hand. Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
I'm
Who
sorry.
was the second?
Bill.
Well, good luck with y'all's expansion and plans. Sure enough.
You want to keep some for your files? I'm good. Thank you. Yeah.
I'm just so disappointed you aren't sticking around for the rest of the meeting here.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
They're going to get dinner without us.
Without us.
Oh, you're going to check on them, huh?
Check on them. All right. The next item is ZV24-007. A request by Shelby Dodd for a special exception from Table 5-1 use matrix of the North Augusta Development Code to allow a private nonprofit I've never quite heard of that, nonprofit organization in a neighborhood commercial zoning district. The request affects approximately 0.24 acres zoned NC neighborhood commercial located at 505B West Martintown Road, tax parcel number 006-17-05-004. All right, Tommy, can you enlighten us on this?
Yes, ma'am. We received a business license application from Ms. Dodd for the Village Ken. It's located at 505B West Martintown Road. This is the subject property here. Here, you might remember.
We remember.
Okay. So let's go back around back. This is where it will be proposed. The parking and everything is already there. And it's an existing building space. But when I read her business plan, I really struggled on and I talked to her, how does this fit in the use matrix? And when we were talking through it, it hit me, the word membership. I wanted to at least get her where I wasn't turning her down, but where it was had a public body heard the request. So as we was talking, she talked about membership, and it hit me that this is a club. Since it is a membership only type thing. And private clubs are nonprofits. It's not really worded right in our development code. But private clubs and nonprofits are allowed by special exception in these particular districts. So that is why she is here for a special exception. And what she's looking at doing is operating a membership-based club that provides recreation for children, that provides creative play for the children, and also for a place for the parents to gather and socialize. And then in talking to her, she had other ideas of expanding from that. I don't think it's reflected in the business plan of maybe some parenting classes or things to help parents and children. So it's all about the kids and family. And so, yeah, that's why I classified it as a private club, and that's why she's here asking for a special exception.
and she can tell you a lot more answers about her business plan than I can. Any questions for me?
Yes.
Okay.
So could, and don't take this, any else, take this the wrong way. Could a daycare be there? Could a restaurant be there? I mean, she's all combining it into one lump, sum. I mean, can those without having to have a special exception? Since she's classified it, or you classified it as a private club,
If, and that is the thing is, she did not fall under a daycare
Okay.
because the hours that she's keeping the children would not be a daycare.
Okay.
I think you have to keep them more than 4 hours a day, and there's some criteria there. And there's also, you also get into other building code regulations when you do a daycare. As far as a restaurant, she talks about having coffee and that type thing there, so she could have that in there. But as far as a restaurant, I would go back to if she got outside this little niche that she's asking for today, I would go back to the development code and say if it's a restaurant, I would look and see if a restaurant's allowed in that district. And if it's not, then she wouldn't be able to expand to that use. Same as, when I say private club, I think about a gym membership. Well, maybe a gym's not allowed here by our development code. Well, where it overrides it is where the development code denies that specific use that the club's going to do here. I wouldn't allow it or wouldn't approve it. But in this one, I really struggled in trying to pigeonhole it into what specific use it would be.
What qualifies, I guess, with a restaurant? Because I know you said coffee served. What goes over that line?
When you start preparing food, when you go out to when you need to get a restaurant license.
Okay, so
remember the state. If you're operating a resident, you've got to have a DHEC license or whatever it's going to be after the 1st of July.
Okay, so if you have a coffee shop, you don't need necessarily to call that a restaurant. You wouldn't need a license in that sense if you just have a coffee shop.
You can do coffee in a membership without a restaurant license, I'm sure. That's the thing is all of this is not open to the public. This is open only to members. And so there'll be a gatekeeper, so to speak, as to how large she has a gatekeeper there that she can control it from getting too large.
but isn't that kind of like having friends over my friend group to my house? My kids play, I serve them coffee. I mean, is it because that it's a private? I'm still just trying to figure out the concept here. This sounds pretty cool, but I mean, what's keeping me from, having them come to my house? Or hey, give me $20 and you can drink my coffee. Have my kids play together.
Well, if I don't know that it would be allowed at your house, the private club.
Well, I mean, no, I'm sure, but I mean, at the same time, I mean, it's really no different.
There is.
Is it because she's trying to put it in a commercial area?
It is, and it's not a group of friends gathering and coming over and that type of thing. It is a commercial establishment. And if you did a commercial establishment in your home where you were charging people to come over and do this type of thing, we would not allow it through the zoning.
You can bring the brownies, though.
I read that I think there's a chiropractic group that sits
Up the top.
above it. Yeah, and
You
they
were
top.
not on the board when.
when that
Yeah,
went
we-
through.
yeah.
Right.
Okay,
It
okay.
wasn't about the group, it was about a sign.
Okay.
And there is an email
yeah.
that is there.
I saw that. That's where
Um,
they recommend them and all that.
Yeah, that is from Dr.
Maria Stone. I
Yeah.
received it this Monday afternoon, and I sent that to y'all this morning. And I just want to put that in the record that you do have a copy
Yeah,
at the dais,
saw that.
and that comment has been provided to you.
They were very much on board with this concept, it seemed too. So.
Right.
Yes.
I'd like to hear the business plan. I think that'd be kind of cool.
She's got it there.
Yeah.
And you know, there used to be a restaurant not there, but in the building, one building over there, was a restaurant there a long time ago. You remember that, Bill? But below Higher Drugstore, they remember they used to have that soup and sandwich shop. Yeah. So I guess that went with the development code at that point, but that was 100 years ago. So who knows? All right. Would anybody like to speak to this? If that's all you have to say, Mr. Paradise.
That's it.
Okay.
My name is Shelby Dodd. I live at 1812 Hollis Avenue in North Augusta.
Okay, would you raise your right hand,
Yes.
please? You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, so we're hoping to open Village Kin in this building particularly. We find that there are other businesses in there that are also family oriented, which was a big draw for us to be underneath Cornerstone, next to Abika, Coven Hair Salon, there and Dr. Hall, all catering to families within that strip. So that's kind of we were like, yeah, this is great. I will admit that I did not do my due diligence to do things in the proper order. Mr. Tommy helped me kind of, I know section 5. Well, I know the table. I can tell you back and forth. Cafe is not in the code. So Mr. Tommy worked with me trying to figure out how we can fit this in, and we did land on the membership being not the ticket, but an opportunity for us to stand in front of you guys to ask for the special exemption. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have about it. Yes, it kind of is just like having your friends over. You're probably more hospitable than a lot of other people. They don't want people in their house. So to be able to have a meeting place where we know that our kiddos are playing safely with imaginative play, and not just a screen, but like having things that are going to engage their mind, having that there. I think we kind of originally were talking about indoor recreation is on the list, and it's a big no. But I think that's kind of considered for like, it's when you say indoor recreation, you're like, you're putting a skating rink under a chiropractor? No. So I get that. It's just a very unique thing that doesn't fall in the table. So we're kind of at a disadvantage there. But yes, to be able to come at a specific time. So we have 3-hour play times throughout the day. We do have classes as well. Parents do stay on site with the kids, so that's why we don't fall into the childcare aspect. There could be a potential one day for us to go that route if it is something that our members would like, and we would go through all of the proper channels to do that with DSS. So that's kind of what we're hoping to do and what it's going to look like. I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Could I ask her a question?
Sure.
Would you expand for them on what type of classes you may or may not be providing?
Right. So on Mondays and Tuesdays, we are going to have, they're called Tiny Movers and Tiny Makers. Those classes are specifically for kids 5 and under, and those are play-based. Those are through like the person that's kind of my partner in this. She has an education degree, and she does sensory play. So the movers class is kind of getting their bodies moving, and then the makers class is using sensory bins and crafts and things like that for little kiddos. We will also do a parents' night in, where parents would come for some kind of education. That we've partnered with lactation consultants. We've partnered with nutritionists. So those types of things, while the kids are being supervised, playing, parents are receiving different kinds of education.
Are you open 5 days a week?
Yes, ma'am. 6.
Oh, 6 days a week.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
Well, we also, our space will be available for birthday parties. Weekends.
I think the only thing I'm a little confused in, I'm just trying to get my head around it, is I know it's so like for a private club, is it basically anybody can walk in as a parent, pay to take one of these classes, and then take this class and have their kid supervised, or is it just
So it is membership based.
membership
So
based.
yes, you would pay a monthly fee, kind of
Okay.
like you do like at the gym. You know, you pay whatever it is a month, and that's the membership
Okay.
of it. Mm-hmm.
So you wouldn't pay like the class, you just pay the membership, take you sign up for the
Yes,
classes, they would take care of your
There,
kids.
yeah, there. I mean, like there are things that are added, like the birthday parties. Obviously, would be in a different add-on
Oh, I see.
kind of thing, but you would have your base membership.
Is,
Questions?
is there anything served besides coffee? Like, are you going?
Yeah, no. So we will have someone that provides. We're partnering with Trellis Coffee Company. They're based in Augusta. They will provide baked goods that we will sell in our space, and then coffee is included in membership. So you would come, and it's not like a full cafe. Like
Yeah.
we're not building out a cafe. It's kind of like self-serve coffee, cold coffee, hot coffee, and like lemonade.
And that's okay, Tommy. Okay.
That's consistent with the discussions that I've had with her as far as what she wants this private club to operate as, a business plan.
Now, I do have a question. I have a question. It says private nonprofit. So,
It does, and whenever I looked at
how you work it? How
one
does that
is,
work
I'm
out?
deferring.
you don't have any private nonprofits. It's just not. And in the ordinance, it says private nonprofit club. So whenever I looked at that, the only thing that I could think that it really meant is that nonprofits and private clubs, and the words got switched around, like several things in the new code. So that's the way I'm looking at that particular section until somebody tells me I'm wrong, is that private club and nonprofits are on that line.
So this is for profit, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Anybody else? Anything else, Ms. Todd?
I have nothing else.
Okay. Jim?
I'm good.
Oh, you're good. Okay.
I'm good.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would anybody else like to speak to this? All right. Well, we'll close the public hearing. Now, this is different also. This is a special exception. And we have to find in the affirmative for all of these. The use complies with all regulations, conditions, and standards of this chapter unless approved as a major waiver. The use will not substantially injure the value of adjoining properties, or the use is a public necessity. I wonder if that's a typo. The use is of a size, shape, and character suited for the proposed site. The location and character of the use, if developed according to the information as submitted and approved, will be compatible with existing uses adjacent to and near the property, and will not adversely affect the development of the neighborhood or the district in which the use is proposed. The use will not create traffic impacts or parking issues that will endanger public safety or contribute to traffic congestion or unacceptable adversely impact nearby properties when compared with uses permitted by right in the same zoning district. The use is consistent with existing and planned pedestrian and vehicular circulation adjacent to and near the property. The use will not be hazardous, detrimental, or disturbing to surrounding land uses due to noise, light, glare, smoke, odor, fumes, water pollution, obstruction of airflow on adjoining properties, or other general nuisances. The use will be adequately served by essential public services and facilities and will not require additional public expense. The uses will not adversely affect any site or feature of historical, cultural, natural, or scenic importance. That the proposed use will not conflict with, but will further develop the objectives of the City of North Augusta Comprehensive Plan. The use will not materially endanger the public health, safety, or welfare if located, designed, and proposed to be operated according to the information submitted. A denial by the BZA based exclusively on this language shall include explicit findings regarding the way in which granting this special exception would endanger public health, safety, and welfare. The Board of Zoning Appeals shall approve the application with specified modifications, or disapprove the application. If approved, the Board of Zoning Appeals shall instruct the Planning and Development Director to issue such permit contingent on the specified modifications proposed. If disapproved, the applicant shall be notified in writing of the action disapproving the application with the reasons therein. All right. Now, do you understand that? All that, okay. So are you ready to discuss it on page 5 of 8? The use complies with all regulations, conditions, and standards of this chapter unless approved as a major waiver. The applicant states that yes, the use is operated within an existing building and will otherwise comply with the development code as there will be no added structures or development to the existing space. Staff notes that private clubs are allowed in the neighborhood commercial zoning district as a special exception according to the North Augusta Development Code. Y'all okay with that? All right. The use will not substantially injure the value of adjoining properties, or the use is a public necessity. The applicant states that the property has been vacant for more than 3 years. By updating the interior and opening a business in this space, it will provide more visibility to other businesses on the property and keep the building and surrounding buildings from looking like vacant properties, which will increase property values. Staff notes that the surrounding properties consist of mostly commercial retail properties with a chiropractic business in the front of the subject property, a dentist's office east of the property, a financial office, Edward Jones, to the west of the property, and residential north of the property. You okay? All right. The use is of a size, shape, and character suited for the proposed site. The applicant states that the proposed business will occupy existing space in an existing structure that has housed similar businesses in our community for many years. No significant exterior alterations or expansions are anticipated, so the size, shape, and character will remain mostly unchanged with the addition of this business. Staff notes that any interior alterations will need to be reviewed and inspected by Building Standards Department to ensure the applicant is in accordance with the North Augusta Development Code.
Good. Let me ask Mr. Paradine, is there any issue with signage?
It would need to go on her tenant space. I have not seen the proposed sign for the space yet, but I feel sure that would, working with Ms. Dodds, I'm sure that's something that we'll be able to work through. She's become very knowledgeable of the development code in the last few months.
Thank you. 4, the location and character of the use, if developed according to the information submitted and approved, will be compatible with existing uses adjacent to and near the property and will not adversely affect the development of the neighborhood or the district in which the use is proposed. The applicant states that this business use is not substantially different in traffic pattern, trip count, clientele, hours of operation, noise levels than any of the adjacent uses. This site was planned for the space in consideration to be occupied. No detrimental physical effects would therefore be anticipated. Many of the businesses located on the property are family-owned businesses, family-based businesses. Village Ken will support the businesses within our shopping center and not take away from any of the businesses within the center. Staff notes that the adjacent properties are commercial businesses. I'm okay with that. London?
Yeah.
The use will not create traffic impacts or parking issues that will endanger public safety or contribute to traffic congestion or unacceptable adversely impact nearby properties when compared with uses permitted by right in the same zoning district. The applicant states that the current parking lot will be more than sufficient for her needs as our meeting times are capped at a certain number of guests at a time. There are currently 30 parking spots in the lot, and our cap for play space is 20 kids per visit, which many of those children will be sibling groups, and we anticipate there being 10 to 15 cars at a time. You okay? All right. The use is consistent with existing and planned pedestrian and vehicular circulation adjacent to and near the property. The applicant states that yes, no additional parking places are proposed or anticipated to be needed. Existing sidewalks will provide pedestrian access and will not be altered, blocked, or congested by this business use. Okay?
Good.
7, the use will not be hazardous, detrimental, or disturbing to surrounding land uses due to noise, light, glare, smoke, odor, fumes, water pollution, obstruction of airflow on adjoining properties, or other general nuisances. The applicant states, no, their noise will be contained within the space using soundproofing flooring and soundproofing in the ceiling. Any light that is outdoors will be turned off at a reasonable hour. All other nuisances listed above will not be a concern. Other businesses in the space are open until 6 p.m., and our space will close no later than 6 p.m. either.
Good as that. Yep.
All right. The use will be adequately served by essential public services and facilities, will not require additional public expense. The applicant states that yes, existing sewer and water demands are not anticipated to increase because the number of patrons will be limited throughout the day. No renovation to existing plumbing, water supply, or waste lines are anticipated. Staff notes that existing water and sewer serves the subject property.
Okay with that.
Okay. The uses will not adversely affect any site or feature of historical, cultural, natural, or scenic importance. The applicant states that no historic, cultural, or natural features are known to be found within the project area or to be visible from or in view of the proposed use.
Good.
Okay. That the proposed use will not conflict with, but will further the objectives of the City of North Augusta Comprehensive Plan. The applicant states, due to the similarity of this business use to those existing on the site and those described by the City of North Augusta as acceptable, this business use fits almost exactly within the comprehensive plan. Staff notes that surrounding property is suitable for commercial uses and complies with the comprehensive plan.
All right.
All right. The use will not materially endanger the public health, safety, or welfare if located, designed, and proposed to be operated according to the information submitted. A denial by the BZA based exclusively on this language shall include explicit findings regarding the way in which granting this special exception would endanger public health, safety, and welfare. The applicant states that the use will not negatively impact the health or safety of the surrounding community, as there will be no added structures to the existing building.
Okay. Good.
All right, any more discussion on this?
No.
Oh, okay, okay. All right, Mr. Motion Maker?
Based on the findings previously discussed and voted on, I move that application DD 24-007 presented by Shelley Dobbs pursuant to section 5.1 use matrix be approved.
Second.
All in favor? All right, Ms. Dodd, we wish you the best of luck.
No sign.
Madam Chairman,
Yes,
could we take about a 5-minute break?
I was just going to suggest
Okay,
that,
thank
okay?
you.
Let's have a 5-minute or 6-minute recess, okay? There are restrooms, when you go out.
All right. We'll resume the meeting, and for roll call purposes, I'm Kevin Skaggs, and I'm starting at item 8 on the agenda. So the remaining agenda items are from the same
Same property.
property. So we'll try to consolidate as much of the discussion as we can. So this one is, we'll start off with the ZE 24003, a request by S3 Partners for a special exception to allow a mini warehouse self-storage facility as required by Table 5-1 Use Matrix and 5.5.18 mini warehouses or self-storage of the North Augusta Development Code. The request affects approximately 13.14 acres zone TC thoroughfare commercial located at 5979 Jefferson Davis Highway, TPNs 013-17-14-001 and 013-17-05-001. And do I need to read the other ones too at this time, or just?
If we're going to hear them all at the same time, I believe that would be good. Yes, sir.
Right, this is that was for the special exception. And the next one is ZV 24-008, a request by S3 Partners for variance from 4.12.8.2 thoroughfare commercial use and intensity impervious surface ratio of the North Augusta Development Code to allow a reduction in the current impervious surface area. The request affects approximately 13.14 acres zone TC thoroughfare commercial located at 5979 Jefferson Davis Highway, TPNs 013-17-14-001 and 013-17-05-001. This is a variance.
Right.
All right. The next one is a waiver. MW 24-004, a request by S3 Partners for a waiver from the minimum parking requirement of Table 8-1 parking requirements by use of the North Augusta Development Code. The request affects a proposed self-storage facility on approximately 13.14 acres zone TC thoroughfare commercial located at 5979 Jefferson Davis Highway, TPN 013-17-14-001 and 013-17-05-001. The fourth one on this property is another waiver. MW 24-005, a request by S3 Partners for a waiver from the landscaping requirements of Section 7.11 open space. The request affects a proposed self-storage facility on approximately 13.14 acres zone TC thoroughfare commercial located at 5979 Jefferson Davis Highway, TPN 013-17-14-001 and 013-17-05-001. Those are the four. We got one special exception, one variance, and two waivers. And now I will open up the public hearing on all four. So go ahead, Tom.
Mr. Chairman, the first one for the special exception is they want to put a mini warehouse self-storage there. This is the old Kmart building. And Table 5.1 requires a special exception for that. Subject property was annexed into the city in April 1995. I think it was probably built in the 70s. Formerly known as Kmart, the parcel was later subdivided, with the present property being two parcels. The current property is majority vacant, with an event center complex occupying one sector of the property, and the applicant is proposing a mini warehouse self-storage facility within the current building of 792 units and 84 RV boat storage units in front of the building between Jefferson Davis and the building.
a proposed security fencing around the property with coded gate access. They also propose, if you notice, there's a curb cut here, and there's also a curb cut about here. And the applicant is wishing to close both of those curb cuts. That's not a requirement from the city, but as you'll hear later, that also gives them about a 10% reduction in required parking. So that is that part. Site, you know the site. This is a general layout of what they're discussing. This is a conceptual drawing. And that kind of gives you an idea of what they are generally talking about there. The second request, they're also requesting a variance to allow a reduction in the impervious surface. Development code, the applicant's requesting a variance to reduce the impervious requirement at the existing facility. Currently, the development code allows for a maximum of 70% impervious area on site. The applicant is proposing a plan to reduce the current impervious surface area from 92% to 76%. And they are requesting 76% be allowed. There's also a request for a waiver from the minimum parking requirement of Table 8-1. You may remember a similar request a few months ago. Currently, the applicant, the development code requires 4 spaces plus 1 space for every 10 storage units. He'll need 84 parking spaces for these. The applicant is requesting a reduction in parking from 84 parking spaces to 19 parking spaces, with 6 spaces at the office area and 13 spaces at the loading climate control building. Section 8.8.3 allows the required off-street parking spaces to be reduced up to 5% for each driveway curb cut that's closed. So that 84 could drop down to a little less, drop down 10%.
10%.
Excuse me?
10%.
Yes, ma'am. But there's still a big gap there. The applicant, just like the other application you heard, provided analysis from the ITE Parking Generation Manual, 5th edition, that said that peak parking demand there would be 10 parking spaces during the weekday needed and 8 parking spaces on the weekend, and we require 84 spaces. We did kind of run that against what we have with the trip generation model. And basically, you would have 140 daily trips, but any time during the peak hour, it would be 10 trips. That's basically 5 cars going into the trip, leaving the trip. And so that is the request for the parking. And then there is another request for a waiver of the landscape requirements for open space. The request, the applicant states the Savannah River project is seeking a variance to reduce the required landscape open space requirement for this existing facility. This parcel would require 3.15 acres of open space. The applicant is proposing to increase the current open space to 2.65 acres from 0.1 acre. So in all of these, this is a redevelopment of something that was not in the city when it was built. And there was not a lot of regulations when it was built. and trying to get something better than what we have. And it is along one of the major corridors. And so this site being redeveloped is important, and how it's redeveloped. Any questions for me? And the applicant is here.
Applicant come forward and want to say anything? And I have to swear you in, so you swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
And state your name and address,
Yeah,
please.
good evening, Barry Sherman. I'm an architect with S3 Partners and a co-developer. We're based out of Greensboro, North Carolina, and Denver, Colorado. And, thanks for having us this evening. Absolute thrill. I've been working with Tommy and the station now for months, and kind of working up to tonight's meeting. Can you hear me okay? Maybe I don't have to lean over as far. A lot of work has gone into this. We work around the country in various regions. We've come into North Augusta, and I got to tell you, I've kind of really enjoyed the community. Watch what you guys have done, the growth, etc. We look for buildings. Well, first of all, we check demand, supply and demand, and really your growth here is telling us that there is a demand here. We look for buildings a sort that are probably a little generational, a little tired, might need rehab. So we came across this structure. We evaluated the entire piece, the landscaping, the parking, the structure itself. Also went out into the community and saw what was here and what we could bring. As much as we get kind of put into the mini storage world, we really try to bring a Class A type product. Majority of this building is all going to be interior, climate controlled, completely remodeled, well lit, security, access control. We would like to have some drive up units on the exterior in the parking lot there, so we put that back there and screened it. But we've been trying to do everything, and Tommy, thank you for that. Trying to do everything we can on this site to meet all the requirements on a site in a building that was built once upon a time that is nowhere near the code today. So we've been balancing the need of reducing the parking, which is fine with us. This site will be extremely quiet. Like Tommy said, we have like 4 to 5 trips a day at times, so we really don't need that much parking, which has allowed us. Could you go to the landscape slide for me? That one there, if you can see, the one on the left, my left is the existing facility with the landscaping, stormwater detention. And what's on the right is what we're proposing to do. So we're trying to maximize the green area, enhance the buffering. We're proposing new landscaping, new irrigation. We're working to meet the stormwater detention areas down in that corner, which needs a little TLC down there. That whole access point there off of Jefferson Davis, there's been some erosion there under that. We look to improve all that, bring that back up to standards. So we've been kind of, and that's why we have these various variances. We got a reduction of parking to increase the landscaping, and as Tommy pointed out, we're taking the landscaping from 0.1 to 2.65, but it would take almost a full another acre of open space and the stormwater to meet the current code. So that's basically the 2 requirements there, and then the reduction of the parking. We take pride in how clean and safe we make our facilities for our clientele. And the site currently has a lot of access points. So what we wanted to do for, one, the community, and for our own safety needs on the, call it the south side behind the rear of the building, we do not have a need for that access point there. So we'd like to close it off, landscape it, create a secured condition there. We would have our access, as you can see in the 2 points there. We, in fact, don't need the other one on Jefferson Davis there. I think that creates potentially some safety concerns there. We'd like to reduce it to 1 because we plan to put in a decorative architectural type fence, which we'll work with Tommy and LaStacia on, and then have access points there on each side. So that we can keep secure our customers' product in there.
So your access, if I may ask a question, your access would be cut down to 1 on Jefferson Davis and then one on the, I guess it's the south side,
On the west side there.
on the west side where it's, goes across the street to the, like, the fireworks place.
Correct,
and all that.
correct. Those would be two access points. So we'd meet the fire department's requirements, circulation, fire hydrants, et cetera, and allows us to just secure the site accordingly. We're working with the current property owner. In fact, our co-development partner is the current leasee of the product. They've got a 55-year lease on it, and frankly, they weren't. We helped to motivate them to allow us to come in and look at this redevelopment. If not, it's going to sit in a long time in the state. We're going to work with the current tenant as best we can to keep them in there as long as we can. Created a nice relationship with them. Other than that, we look forward to enhancing the building. You saw the architectural enhancements. Again, we'll work with Tommy and LaStacia on that. We are trying to be a bit sustainable. So as much as you can see the solar on the panels, we're going to be able to offset a lot of our electrical needs by the solar. Not only are we're trying to get a community solar program going right now. That's representational. We're going to try to maximize as many solar panels as we can to kind of lessen our impact electrically. At the right time, we'll be coming in to provide a permit for signage, work to meet the current codes. Beyond that, no noise, no odors, secure, pretty quiet site, and we really emphasize just working with the community. So thank you for your time.
Lighting, I have a question. Lighting.
Yeah, great question. Thanks for bringing that up. All downcasting. We'll provide a photometric to Tommy and make sure we've got no light pollution off the site. Everything's down facing.
So there's no other tenants, I guess, in that building now, is that right?
There's one tenant in it right now, just on the far east side. So they've got a month-by-month lease right now.
How do they figure into the plan?
They're going to relocate into the community. They might lease part of the space back from us yet. We're not sure, but we definitely need to rehab the building. I can tell you we're going to be going through all the proper channels with the city and the town and the state. On an old building like this, you can imagine we found all the things that you find, and so we've got an investment here to kind of go through, but we're ready.
And has DOT been in talks, or have they looked at them regarding your entrance? Closing the one entrance?
We have made touch with them. We will make application actually close that out, which I think they're going to applaud us versus trying to add one.
Okay.
I have a question, if I could, if I could, Mr. Chairman. Is Beckplex going to stay, or are they going to go? Because that, if they're going to rent space from you and stay, that affects the parking ratio.
Yeah. Right now, they're moving out. Yeah, thank you for that, though. Great point.
Yeah.
It seems like they're moving out. If they were to lease back to you, are you going to use that as part of your space?
Yeah, they're a month-to-month lease, so we will terminate their lease. And when I said they would rent from us, they would probably rent space for some of their product, not run their operation out of it. Like they may rent storage units.
Oh, okay.
So they would have access to that around y'all's facility. They would be able to get to that without gates or anything.
Yeah, I don't suspect them to stay with their operation. I probably misspoke there in regards to what the intention was. They would just store some of their product.
Mr. Chairman, while he's still up here, we're right now with him and anybody that speaks, we're considering all four.
Yes.
So we don't have to bring everybody up at each.
Right,
Correct.
so this is a
Okay.
public hearing for all four.
For all four. Okay.
Yes.
So we'll discuss it all at one time. Okay. All right. So in other words, if we got questions.
Yeah,
can ask
we
them.
might be bringing you back
Yeah,
up.
no problem.
Okay. All right.
Is anybody from the public want to get up and say anything for? Come to the microphone. And I need to swear you in, please.
Yes, sir.
Swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir, I do.
Thank you. State your name and address, please.
My name is Danita White. I'm at 432 Carpentersville Road. All right. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and board members. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. I am actually fifth generation from Carpentersville. Carpentersville is located directly behind the project that you're working on, and it's been there since the 20s. I actually own one of the lots that's in the city, that's in that community. And then there are like 4 others that are in the city. And then the remainder are in Aiken County, just so we are all clear that it's a mixed bag. It's a concern for me what you're about to do, to be very honest. And so I'm here tonight because I have concerns. I even brought my aunt with me to discuss some of the things that I read in your variance package. With that said, if it's okay, if you could provide me a little bit of latitude, I'd rather read from my statement because it's very emotional and just thinking about the impact. So the following areas that you just discussed, the closure of the access Hamburg Road, the fencing, the security, the parking variance, the utilities, the landscaping, all of those things are a huge concern to the residents that live there. Before I begin, I understand and respect the rights of you and your partners. And I also understand that the owners of the old antique mall have been incredibly gracious in allowing us to utilize that opening from Jefferson Davis and Hamburg Road. But as with any change, I feel it's important that we come together as a community to find solutions that are beneficial to the public at large and not do anything that will potentially put the community at risk. And the things that you're talking about will put the community at risk. So I'll start from the beginning. The one thing that we started with was, he ended with, was the rear access to Hamburg. And so the proposed plan depicts the restricting of access to enter from Jefferson Davis and the access road to the rear of the facility, which is called Hamburg Road. This would lead to the community and TTX having only one entrance and exit point out of Carpentersville. That area comprises of the residents that live in the houses, the auto auction, the TTX plant, and the church. So you can just imagine the church has a lot of events. The Hamburg plant has their commercial vehicles which go up and down the street. And then, of course, the auto auction, right? And so blocking off the rear of the Hamburg will lead to a choke point at the top of Hamburg due to the increased traffic flow. Is there a plan to sort of identify an alternative route would be one of the questions that I would have. When you're talking about emergency services, it concerns me that if you come from Aiken County, you'll have to kind of merge to the right and take East Buena Vista. If everybody's tracking with me, if you remember Jefferson Davis, you'd have to take East Buena Vista, get on Martintown Road, and then come around the loop. And so we have a lot of seniors, a lot of children in our community, and of course, anything could happen at the Hamburg plant. To know that it would add an additional 5 to 10 minutes of sort of wait time for emergency services, that is really scary to me. So, I mean, I don't know if there's any alternative that we can probably work together, but without a configuration change, emergency services coming in the direction of from Aiken County or from Aiken will have to take at least 5 to 8 minutes to get to Carpentersville.
Could I ask a question?
Yes,
You have
sir.
your pointer. Could you point to the screen kind of where you're talking about?
Do you have a different version?
A different version?
Mm-hmm. The one.
That one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of, sort of.
This one?
That might work. So when
Here.
you're coming, oh, thank you. Do I push the blue?
Red one?
When you're here and you're coming from Aiken and you're coming here, you would make the left turn, right? But if you block that off, that means people have to come down here and make the right turn at East Buena Vista. And then come around and get onto Martintown Road and then come down and then they would end up at the gas station,
You need to speak in the microphone.
oh, sorry. And they would end up at the gas station, which would be on this side, if that makes any sense. It's a gas station on this side, and then it's the auto auction over there. Does that help?
Yeah, so have you seen emergency services come cut through that? And that's the route they take?
That is the route.
Okay.
They go right through that parking lot on the left side through up Like up through there. That
Yes,
left,
sir.
That left road. Okay.
Yes, sir. Because people, the police take this left turn here, they come in and they get to the back that way, or they come through here and they go over this way to get to the gas station, or right here to get to the gas station and come up that way. And as the Aiken County services come from that way as well, from the loop off of the Martintown Road. Is that at all helpful?
Yeah, it is.
Is that a named road or is that private property? I mean, is that a thoroughfare through there or is that?
No, so that's not a designated roadway. That is private property. That's part of the parking lot and a cut through.
Yes, it's their property.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Right.
But right here is where you would kind of end up, and that's the auto auction, and then this is the gas station.
Okay.
Right? And so, additionally, my question would be, have we taken steps to also ensure that the Schultz Hill community has the proper lighting, roadway, and safety tools put in place to handle the new increase in traffic if you block that off and we have to go through East Buena Vista? Hamburg Road is maintained by South Carolina DOT. It was recently paved. And so that experience led me to see that the residents, the Hamburg plant employees, and the vendors, along with others, have to utilize the rear entrance of the parcel in question. Just recently, it was paved. Hamburg Road was paved right up in here, and no one could get out this way. And this is where you're forcing us to come out. So they had to use the back entrance to get in and out. So when you're saying any events happen, you're going to leave us just this one entry and exit point.
That's the only one. That's the only way to Hamburg plant is that area.
That's correct. Yes, sir. The Hamburg plant is in the very back here. And this is Carpentersville.
Makes sense what you're saying.
So the auto auction, I'm also not sure if you're familiar with this. I don't know if you have an agreement with the owners of the auto auction, but they utilize your space to park, right? And so here's the thing. Their space is right here, and they park sometimes here, and that's Carpentersville Road. They park also here. So when you cut off the entrances, they're going to park all along Hamburg Road. And that's going to be a significant safety issue. They already do it. They already overwhelm the community on Carpentersville Road. And now you're asking for us to deal with them to now migrate over to Hamburg.
So is that an agreement that they have now with the?
I don't know anything about it.
I'll just state it here. There is not an agreement. The intention, obviously, is for them to stop doing that. Because they come over and I've witnessed it, they come over and use the parking lot, sometimes work on the cars there. So we're going to keep them from doing that.
The auction is a commercial business, but of course the community is identified as residential area. So there's a concern due to the increase in traffic flow, especially on auction days, that again will lead to a cause and effect. The auction, or the cause being the closure of the space, the openings, and the effect being that of the patrons of the auction, then parking on Hamburg Road further overwhelms the community. We respectfully request the Planning Zoning Board assist us with ensuring that some type of discussion or action be taken regarding how we are going to safeguard the community and halt the abuse of the residential space. It is a safety concern. I heard you talk about fencing. I see that there's some sort of plan with regards to wrought iron fencing, but sometimes these storage areas have barbed wire, and I don't know if you're planning to put any barbed wire. It's a concern, so we'd like to know a little bit more about what the materials you're going to use for the fencing. In terms of security and hours of operation, the security plan seems to include a gate, but what other tools or aspects to control the overall safety are going to be implemented is a question. Will the facility be 24/7 for your renters? And if so, the community disagrees. And so Carpentersville has a church, We have the auto auction. The Sprint gas station, I believe, closes around 9 p.m. I mean, the business hours, if they're 8 to 5, that's one thing. And then the gate is accessible around 9. But after then, the community is quiet and it shuts down around 9 o'clock. So the hours of operation would be a significant concern for us. There's a discussion that I just heard you talk about, the parking variance, and I would respectfully ask the board to disapprove this request for a variance for parking. The current proposed scale of this effort will be greater than any of the previous businesses or usage of the space. Likewise, it will indeed pose an impact on this community despite what is denoted in your submitted variance package. I believe significant thought and care should be given by the board to recommend that this project be decreased in scale, reducing the number of slots or units of rentable space to fit within the constructed the footprint of the parcel, thus allowing the project to comply with the current zoning standards. And further, the current plan gives way to concerns regarding both noise and light pollution. The community, again, is a quiet neighborhood, and it is our concern that if this is a 24/7 operation, and we haven't heard that it isn't, and it may not be, but we would need to understand what those hours would be. Utilities. The utility system has not been upgraded in the Carpentersville TTX area, to my knowledge, to meet the needs of this project. And so the community has overhead utilities. The Antique Mall and the TTX plant run from the same power lines, and many of the significant power lines are connected to the pole directly in front of one of my homes. So I am directly affected. So what is the overall utility plan for this effort? And any modifications for the project of this scale will affect the community. I haven't heard whether or not we're going to have the utility reps involved. I don't know if they're going to shut the power off or the water. And we're still dealing with brown water in the community. Another question would be, are you going to have some sort of period where the construction, we'll have a construction conversation, right, for the timeline? In terms of the landscaping, the proposed landscaping depicts a significant landscaping modification to the rear of the facility. The current location has a dilapidated chain link fence, and that's back here in the back on Hamburg. But the community residents actually have mailboxes that abut that area, all up and down Hamburg. So I don't know what the plan is, but it would be a concern for me as we increase the traffic footprint and we have seniors and those that are disabled. They're going to be walking across the street to get their mail. I feel like that's a safety concern. The timeline for the construction is something that I'd like the residents and the TTX to have more visibility on, if that's possible, if you're able to do that. I'm not sure how long the construction will take. But the current structure, size, and scale of this project, the traffic implications, and the safety of the community at large of this project is overwhelming. And from my perspective, it is a self-imposed hardship. But I mean, I really worry about whether or not we're going to be heard because we're such a small community.
Got heard. I promise you that. My question is, because I want to make sure I understand. So the residents and maybe some of the churches and all are parking in that lot now. Is that right?
The church, no, sir. The auto auction. The auto auction.
Gibbs, what used to be Gibbs Auto Auction, is using part of that property to park, not the residents.
That's correct.
So basically, all those people, in a nutshell, he's kicking everybody out. It's going to become his property to do what he wants.
Right.
We hear you.
And I respect his right as it's his property. Yes, sir.
We're not here to approve it or disapprove it. We're here to let him know that he can go to the next step, Tommy, to go to the planning commission once this is all finalized.
Yes, sir.
So could have, and we've had several, so you don't want that many parking places. Trust me, you'd rather have the 10, 13, 12 parking places. Now, that's not including the campers and stuff that are out front. So it's trying to figure out, like I say, there's a little give and take. This is, we're just trying to give him his little permission to move to the next step, his little variance. We have really no say of, yes, he can do this project. That's all going to fall through the planning commission. And the same thing with the roadway. I understand where you're coming from, trust me. I'm in a neighborhood that has one way in, one way out as well. So, but from a zoning appeals side, we just kind of listen to it or his request and we go off of that.
Yes, sir. No, I fully understand. We went to the mayor's meeting last night and he felt that it would be appropriate for us to come here. And I fully understand variances. With our lots, we plan to build small houses. I gotcha. I'm tracking, right? But it is a concern and it is important to us to voice our concern before you start handing out variances and permits, because I feel like once it gets too far down the road, the train would have left the track and it would have been too late for us to bring up things. Yes, sir.
Throw myself on it and kind of be, short butt.
Well,
But I mean, that's kind of, we're not here to tell them you can't cut that, not put that road there or not put a gate up.
No, and I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's a cause and effect, and I want to understand if there's an alternative. That's all I'm asking. If there's an alternative to support the community. And to say that there's no impact, that is absolutely not true.
so
Yes, sir.
the impact is the residents, they use that, they kind of cut through that parking lot now. Is that right?
Well, whether the residents use it or not, the impact is once you close it off, between the Hamburg TTX employees and their vendors, the commercial trucks, and all of the other stakeholders that have business within that Carpentersville area are going to be impacted by only having one way in and one way out at the top of Hamburg.
Do you have any trip data for that?
No, sir. Both of those are not in the city.
Would
And that is, as she said earlier, that's a DOT road as well. So they maintain it.
traffic study at all required in this project?
No, sir. As you heard earlier, the maximum, I think, peak hour traffic flow was, I think it was 10 or, yeah. So a traffic impact analysis is not required until it meets 50 or more trips per day during the peak hour.
That's in and out of his property.
Correct.
That includes up there at the gas station or that, where you stop an auto wash and that stop sign.
That's correct. When we evaluate for a traffic impact analysis, we're looking at this particular project and how this project is impacting traffic in the area.
So that gets
That's
done
exactly.
When a new project, when at least 50 new, and that's an important word there, new trips are generated during the peak hour. And by new trips, there are some cases we've run into, like in scrape and build, that were generating X, and whenever you subtracted that X out of the traffic generation for what's proposed, it wasn't required.
Yeah, I mean, I totally understand where you're coming from. I think it's like more than 1,000 valid points with all that. And I do think that the planning commission is probably where to take that concern too. But I think it's great that you brought it here too. Just spreading the word out. I didn't know anything about that neighborhood until you just told me. And so that enlightens me too. So I do think that it goes to the planning commission to be more decisive on that and probably hopefully give you guys some other access. And crazy to me. You only have one
When,
access.
when it goes to the planning commission, and there will probably be a public hearing, but the planning commission, when they weigh whether to approve or disapprove, y'all have all sat in the training sessions along beside them. Does it meet the ordinance or does it not meet the ordinance? What are the development standards? If it meets the development standards, planning commission's really kind of bound to approve it. If you grant the variance, as long as they meet that variance requirements, then they've met the ordinance or waiver or whatever. So when it goes to the planning commission, they'll look at us, and by that time, we will have gotten this plan worked so that it complies with everything and the rules that have been generated out of this meeting as well. If not, it'll have to come back to this meeting and get those rules worked out.
Poppy asked this question, said the same thing 5 times. I'm just trying to make sure I understand it. So all those either residences or churches or anything are using that property. They're not necessarily going the route that he's calling the new route. They're using the cut-through route. Is that right?
We use both. Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, we use both. It's just that when you're coming from Aiken, coming down to Jefferson and making that left turn,
Right.
the way to go is through his property. East Buena Vista up to Martintown Road.
Yeah.
Take a left, go over the bridge.
Yeah.
Put you out right there, gas station, and then take a right at the stop sign.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, one way you go on the public highway, the other way you cut across private property.
So the issue of emergency services, so the police response time, the emergency and fire department response time, that also is a factor.
I got one question.
Yes,
too.
sir.
And I guess this goes to Tommy. Tommy, what is a way that she could, I don't know, talk to someone about another access point? I mean, you say, and I understand what you're saying, here's probably not it. Planning commission is probably not it. Where does she go? I'm just trying to help a citizen, I guess, here.
I think she's talked to Representative Hickson.
Okay.
That is one avenue.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, I think what she's talking about is getting an access road from Jefferson Davis Highway to Cartersville.
To Hamburg.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
Hamburg.
Yes, sir.
So that there's a back door in there.
That's all private.
And I was going to say, first thing, DOT would have to acquire the right of way. And building new roads is very expensive. So I don't know, if the cost benefit will be there. That's a decision for smarter people than me and higher up the food chain, so to speak. But there would be a lot of challenges there putting that connection in. Now, could they put some kind of access closer? I don't know. That's really getting into the engineering work and DOT. And remember too, I've got to say this, US 1 is not only a DOT road, but it's a US highway. So it's held to a higher standard of what you can and can't do with it.
Any other questions of Ms. White? Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Pointer?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry. I almost
No
stole
problem.
it.
I've just met you all tonight. I just want to convey I'm absolutely sympathetic to what I just heard tonight, not knowing exactly what was occurring there. I'm obviously, from a global standpoint, as an architect and planner, I see this does need to get to more public works in regards to safety response time, et cetera. But, unfortunately, even if we didn't go forward with this, what the buyer the current owner that are partners with us may do, I can't tell you what they're going to have. But today, with people crossing the property, we're exposed to probably, wear and tear and risk and anything that occurs there when people cross that property, because we're not insured for that today. So, but I'm totally sympathetic to what you said, so please know, I mean, we would take all the safeguards for safety during construction. That's hence why we're trying to buffer the landscape in there more on the south side, just to be able to buffer it from the community, and close that. Beyond that, no barbed wire, by any means. And we would work out however it needed to be with your mailboxes there. Because you're right, that landscaping back there is rough. It hasn't been taken care of for a long time, and it needs to be cleaned up. And that was absolutely our intentions here. So that's all I just wanted to convey. So
Before we start discussion, I'm going to recuse myself.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other comments from the audience before we close this public hearing? I gotta swear you in. Swear to tell truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, I do.
And state your name and address, please.
My name is Ken Gaines, and I live on Hillside Road, 103 Hillside. And I was concerned about the timetable of when the actual start construction. But she's concerned, with the lights and all the construction and all the bypass roads. That Hamburg is important. That road there behind the building, that's between the center and also the auto auction. That is the only access road in and out of there. And like you said, it gets congested as it is. So in order for them to have that response time and have all of the emergency vehicles get back in and out of there is important and would impact that particular community. And I support her concerns about that. And I understand his business and we need to move forward on it. But we can find some kind of alternative to assist that community, be greatly appreciated. And I just want to find out what a timetable is projected for the actual construction and start to breaking down those kinds of things. I know that building there, they do events and activities. I'm sure they would need time to plan and make any kind of alternate moves if they intend to relocate.
You have that answer about the timetable?
Pending our efforts in coordination with Tommy and LaStacia at Planewise, we were going to work towards next steps with planning, but ideally before 24 was out, we would be able to start some type of construction period to do all the work. We'd probably do a little bit in phases. The work inside the building's all going to be interior, and we'd start some of the exterior pieces. So 10 to 11 months is what we'd expect from starting to finish.
Starting in 24.
Need talking to the mic.
Okay, when you talk about the end of the year, you're talking about November, December?
Yes. In the last, 10, 11 months. All right.
Hello, everybody.
I got to swear you in.
Maggie
Tell
Brown.
truth, whole truth, nothing but truth, so help you God.
Maggie Brown.
Thank you.
I'll just, would you put the other back up for the new? Yeah. There. I just wanted to say that I know change is inevitable and change comes. But I was just hoping and praying that he would consider, I know he may not, but you would consider, because it's on the edge of your property, if you would still allow access, because the EMTs, when they come from Aiken, that's where they come in to come to the neighborhood. Other than that, they have to go down the highway, go around, and come back up Martintown Road to come around to come in. The fire department and the EMTs and the Aiken County. Part of our neighborhood is Aiken County. Part of it is the city of North Augusta. And we have 10 residents on Carpentersville Road right now and 5 on Hamburg. And there are some others there building homes. And the church is there also. And I was just hoping and praying that that you may take in consideration of allowing access since it's on the edge of your property. If that's all I'm asking, if you can, I'll just continue to pray. Maybe you might change your mind. I just wanted to speak there. And congratulations.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, we'll close the public hearing for all four of these items. All right, so now we got to consider each one separately because there are different types of requests. The first one would be ZB 24-008, and this is what is this? This is a variance, is that right?
No, so this would be the special exception. Should be first.
Great. I must have got out of order. Hold on a minute.
We said it that way because if the special exception didn't pass, the rest of it would be mute.
Now I gotta find it.
I do not, I think that's a typo. Do you know? Instant.
There you go. I got 4, and that's 5. This is 8. This was a thick packet.
Yes, sir. I agree.
All right. CV 24003. All right, so this is the special exception, and you've already heard one special exception, right?
Yes.
So I won't read through all the requirements of the special exception then. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So we'll get right to the consideration part of it.
That's on page 5, correct?
5, yes. All right. North Augusta Development Code, section 18.8.4 defines the criteria for the board's use in hearing and deciding upon requests for special acceptance. And the following is staff analysis of the items submitted. Staff responses are in italics. Okay. Item 1, the use complies with all regulations, conditions, and standards of this chapter unless approved as a major waiver. The applicant states that the Savannah River Storage Project is seeking an exception to allow the use for self-storage of boat and RV canopy-covered storage at the above referenced location. Currently, Article 5, subsection 5.5.18 does not specifically allow either mini warehouse, self-storage, or boat and RV storage. The applicant is requesting approval of specific uses and development based upon the following: meeting demand. There is a demonstrated need in the community for both climate-controlled storage and Class A boats and RV storage demands. Economic benefits. The project can contribute to the local economy through job creation and property tax revenue. Enhancement of this existing property. The applicant is proposing the repurposing of the area for self-storage of boats and RVs. We're proposing a complete refreshing of the property, which includes building architecture enhancement, improvement to site stormwater management, site advances including paving and exterior lighting,
enhance landscaping to meet current code, and add a sustainable solar component. Community amenity, providing climate control, self-storage, and enhanced boat and RVs. This amenity provides convenience for residents, HOA specific, and residents alike need a safe, professional operated facility. And finally, the lack of specific prohibition. The North Augusta Development Code does not explicitly prohibit the use of self-storage for boats and RVs. And then the staff notes that a mini warehouse, self-storage facility, or special exception for TC Thoroughfare Commercial Zoning District in the North Augusta Development Code, the applicant is seeking approval for a self-storage facility with RV boat storage to be allowed at the subject property application. That was good. So back to the original question. The use complies with all regulations, conditions, and standards of this chapter unless approved as a major waiver. So do we have any issues with that particular item?
No.
I have no issues with that either. All right. Item 2. The use will not substantially injure the value of the adjoining properties or the use as a public necessity. The applicant states the hardship created by the development code on an existing facility this is diversified. The use, in quotes, is the key burden as it does not specifically speak to the use as we are proposing. The hardship is created by the conversion of this facility, includes the stormwater management specifications, landscape requirements, permeable versus non-permeable percentages. Other considered hardships is unmet demand and restrictions on self-storage for boats and RVs create an unnecessary hardship as it fails to address the growing need for such facilities in the area. Economic impact: without the ability to provide storage for boats and RVs, the project faces financial strain, impacting both investors and potential customers. Loss of opportunity. Development code's lack of clarity deprives the community of a valuable service and amenity, limiting options for residences and visitors in need of storage solutions for their recreational vehicles. Underutilized space. The inability to repurpose the location for canopy-covered storage of boats and RVs leaves the area unused or underused, failing to maximize its potential contribution to the local economy and community. There exists a long-term lease of 50 years that will likely prohibit many, if any, development opportunities. Staff notes that surrounding properties consist of a mixture of commercial and retail and residential that is located to the east and southeast of the property. Again, going back to the original question, the use will not substantially injure the value of adjoining properties or the use is a public necessity.
I have one question, Tommy. What could go there? What if, let's say this one, what, a grocery store, a car lot, nightclub, Wendy's?
Anything that's allowed in thoroughfare commercial zoning district could go there, and a lot of those could go there by right. And I'm just talking off the top of my head now. I am not checking my.
That's
book.
fine. I just like to
But,
say,
right down the road, you have the car dealerships. That could go. Certainly. You could have grocery stores. You could have a Walmart, Kmart like it was, a big box retail. You could have,
so
all
something
sorts
with
of
a lot
things.
more traffic or a lot more, we're kind of by the road.
Drive-in restaurant.
Used to be a drive-through restaurant.
I mean, drive-in restaurant.
So there, I
Sold beer.
I was just kind of seeing it because I know we're trying to grant the use, which is allowed, not loud. But
Well, I will,
I just want to,
let me just say. Let me go to the use table just a second and tell you what that zoning district is designed for.
okay. Because like he said, I hate for us to say, no, we can't go in. Next thing you know, we got, Buc-ee's or something, a Lowe's gas station.
The thoroughfare commercial, and I'm reading from the code here. The purpose of this district is to accommodate commercial, light industrial,
and warehouse distribution uses along high capacity roadways typically dependent on a regional market. It is characterized by bright and intensive signage designed to gain the attention of passing motorists. Uses are not compatible to neighborhoods and professional areas. Accordingly, they are limited to areas where traffic volumes are the highest, and the residential developments and the professional or land uses are least prevalent. Did that make sense?
Yes, sir. Now, just out of curiosity, when you say that they could be used as a warehouse, why isn't this classified as a warehouse?
Big commercial warehouse, lots of traffic.
It does. It's a self-service mini warehouse.
Oh, okay.
If one person bought that and used it as a warehouse facility, that would be a different use than when you have multiple users coming and going.
I'm certainly sensitive to the points that were raised by Ms. White and others, but what you just read tells me that a lot of things could go there that would be way more disruptive to their neighborhood and also create a tremendous more amount of traffic.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, comment?
No.
I'm good with that.
So I'm good with question 2.
Yeah.
Good?
Yes,
Good, Lon?
Yes.
All right, we're good on number 2. Number 3, the use of a size, shape, and character suited for the proposed site. The applicant states that the extraordinary exceptional conditions related to this development relate specifically to the product type and use that we are proposing. The existing structure of the old Kmart is tailored well for a Class A climate-controlled self-storage. Its size, height, and infrastructure are ideal for operation of this product type. This site allows us to provide a combination of drive-up, self-storage, and boat and RV canopy storage. The open parking lot and paved areas around the perimeter allows for us to provide these other uses. This site location is also uniquely situated on a major transportation artery and connects many neighborhoods and interstates that lead to nearby recreational locations. Existing infrastructure. The property benefits from an available parking lot that meets the spatial requirements for storing boats and RVs, minimizing the need for extensive modifications or additional construction. Natural screening. The vegetative surroundings of the property act as a natural fence, enhancing privacy, preserving the aesthetic appeal of the area. This allows for the integration of a purpose-built canopies for storage without compromising the scenic beauty of the surroundings. Harmonious integration. The exceptional conditions of the property include in its existing parking lot, the natural screening providing the opportunity for the proposed canopy cover storage to seamlessly blend into the environment, minimizing visual impact while meeting the community storage needs. Staff notes that the conceptual plan of the proposed storage building depict one story with a total height of 28 feet. Plans depict exterior access with several rows of drive-up self-storage adjacent to the climate-controlled building. The plans depict RV and boat storage located in the front of the building with access from Jefferson Davis Highway. All right, so back to this item is the use of a size, shape, and character suited for the proposed site.
Yes.
I'm good. You good, Jim?
Yes.
All right, we're good with number 3. Number 4, the location and character of the uses, if developed according to the information as submitted and approved, will be compatible with existing uses adjacent to and near the property and will not adversely affect the development of the neighborhood or the district in which the use is proposed. The applicant states that this site is unique in its size, location, access, and layout. It has sat in disrepair for decades and struggled for most developers due to the size of the lot, building, and overall development costs. Unique features. The open space and existing structures on this property are not commonly found in the surrounding area, making it uniquely suitable for the proposed use of a canopy covered storage for boats and RVs. Limited alternatives. Other properties in the area may lack necessary space or infrastructure to accommodate similar storage facilities, making them less feasible for this specific purpose. Demand balance. The absence of oversupply in the area indicates a perfect demand balance for the proposed storage solution, suggesting that meeting this demand on a particular property would be beneficial for the community without creating an oversaturated market. And then Taylor's solution. Given the lack of comparable options in the vicinity, granting an exception for this property would provide a tailored solution to address the community's needs for boat and RV storage while maximizing the use of available space and resources. And there are no staff notes that go with this one. So back up to the item, the location and character of the use is developed according to the information that is submitted and approved, will be compatible with existing uses adjacent to and near the property and will not adversely affect the development of the neighborhood or the district in which the use is proposed.
Okay with that.
Good.
The use of a self-storage, I'm okay with too. All right, we're okay with number 4. The number 5, the use will not create traffic impacts or parking issues that will endanger public safety or contribute to traffic congestion or unacceptable adversely impact nearby properties when compared with uses permitted by right in the same zoning district. The applicant states that the development code is unreasonable in nature as it does not specifically speak to the conditions related to the aspects of an existing building reuse and size utilization. Site design elements. The conditions of the existing site and code compliant requirements create challenges related to the compliance to the required restrictions and or prohibitions outlined in the code. These include parking count requirements, stormwater management requirements, landscape conditions. Staff notes that the applicant has submitted separate applications for a parking waiver for reduction in parking and increase the open space for the subject property. Staff also notes that the site was originally used for a big box retailer and is designed to meet larger parking and vehicle traffic than the storage facility will generate. So go back to this particular item. The use will not create traffic. The use of a self-storage RV and boat and RV storage will not create traffic impacts or parking issues that will endanger public safety or contribute to traffic congestion or acceptable adversely impact nearby properties when compared with uses permitted by right in the same zoning district, which I guess gets to the public comment.
I'm okay with that. And that goes back to the point that some of the things that could be used there would generate a tremendous amount of traffic, even further congesting the roads that they're talking about. I've been amazed when we've been talking about self-storage at how little traffic is anticipated. It's amazing.
Yeah, the use of the self-storage would not increase traffic for the self-storage area for that particular use. Is that right? Am I looking at it right?
Yeah, because we're only talking about the self-storage.
Yeah.
I know it's creating a hardship by cutting off the road and making them go around and everybody else. But as far as the building itself.
So what about the outside the neighborhood part of it? Is that a concern that gets brought up somewhere else? We talked about planning commission and all that, so the impacts to the neighborhoods cause traffic patterns. So whether it's, I guess you're still outside private property.
It says unacceptable adversely impact nearby properties when compared with uses permitted by right in the same zoning district.
Okay.
When compared with uses permitted by right in the same zoning district. So I mean, they don't have like a right to go. I mean,
I'm old
they're
enough
using
to
it.
remember when it was Kmart. I mean, they had tons of traffic going in and out of that place all the time.
Yeah.
Plus, they had a car repair, tire installation facility right there, and they ran Kmart till late in the evening. I mean, usually 10 o'clock before it closed. So as far as adversely affecting the surrounding property, this use is mild. It's really milquetoast.
Yeah.
Except for cutting off that cut through, but that's not, that's private property.
That's
It's just,
private property.
Yeah, that's the issue there. Okay, I'm good with 5. What are you, you
Yeah.
good?
Yeah,
I'm
You
good.
good? All right. Item 6, the use is consistent with existing and planned pedestrian and vehicle circulation adjacent to and near the property. The applicant states, yes, the use is consistent with existing and planned pedestrian and vehicle circulation near and around the property. Apart from 2 entrances into the site being closed to allow for proper traffic flow through the site, we have not affected any of the sidewalks or roads access to Jefferson Davis or Hamburg Road. Staff notes that this parcel has several uses, with one being an old department store, Kmart, and an old antique mall. In the vicinity of the subject parcel are a convenience store with gasoline sales, fireworks business, and automotive body shop. So again, the question is, this use is consistent with existing and planned and vehicle circulation adjacent to and near the property. I guess the use is consistent. The design of closing off 2 entrances to the property may change vehicle circulation, but again, you're kind of cutting through private property when you do that, when the current is. Is that right? We seeing that right? Yeah. So I'm okay with 6. You okay?
Yeah.
Good?
Yeah.
Good, Lynn? Okay. The use will not be hazardous, detrimental, or disturbing to surrounding land uses due to noise, light, glare, smoke, odor, fumes, water pollution, obstruction of airflow, or adjoining properties, or other general nuisances. The applicant states that the granting of this exception will not substantially cause any detriment to adjacent properties. The applicant's proposed development and business type has no activities that create either noise, odors, light pollution, traffic, or unsightly conditions. Furthermore, these include minimum traffic impact. The granting of this exception will not substantially increase the traffic to the property, as the average flow to the self-storage facility is minimum, averaging only 4 cars per hour, significantly less than the traffic generated by the original Kmart. Prohibited requires or any outdoor parts from material storage. Our development and management leases will not allow for permit boat and RV repairs, unlicensed or unmanaged units to be stored, and reduce to the likelihood of unsightly activities and preserving the visual character of the district. Utilization of existing premises. By utilizing the existing premises and parking lot, the need for extensive construction and associated noise will be minimized, contributing to the preservation of the district's tranquility. And limited noise. The operation of a boat RV storage facility involves minimal use noise, serving as a quiet and unobtrusive service to the community, further maintain the character of the district. Staff notes that the subject property is surrounded by residential property to the rear, vacant property to the west, and commercial retail to the east of the property with minimal light pollution. So this question says the use will not be hazardous, detrimental, or disturbing to surrounding land uses due to noise, light, glare, smoke, odor, fumes, water pollution, obstruction of airflow, or adjoining properties or other general nuisances. They still got to comply with all the development code for all those things, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So they need a variance on one.
You would see them again.
You'll see them again. Right. Y'all got any questions? I didn't have any issues with this. No questions. No issues? Okay. Item 8, the use will be adequately served by essential public services and facilities and will not require additional public expense. The applicant states that yes, the use will indeed be adequately served by essential public services and facilities. No public expense or assistance will be required. This is a privately funded and supported project. Staff notes that this parcel was an old department store, Kmart, which is now mostly vacant and dilapidated with the exception of the BEC Plex, occupying a portion of the property. Public services such as water, sewer, sanitation, etc., have been previously provided to this location.
Yeah. Okay with that.
Good?
Good with
I'm
that.
good. Number 9, the uses will not adversely affect any site or feature of historical, cultural, or natural or scenic importance. The applicant states that no, the use of this property will not adversely affect any site or feature of historical, cultural, natural, or scenic importance. It could be noted that we seek only to improve the look of the site and increase vegetation along the property, which will only increase its natural beauty. And then the staff notes, staff is not aware of any impact this project would have on any historical, cultural, natural, or scenic importance.
So that means they're still gonna put a blue light in the corner. A blue light special.
I'm good with 9. You good?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I'm good with it. When your staff did this, did they know about any of what they're talking about? And
No, sir. The public comment
just now.
just now.
Okay.
And yesterday evening, and yesterday I received a call from Representative Hickson.
I got. Oh, okay.
So we're still good?
Yeah, I'm still good. I just wondered because I was thinking about that, and I was thinking, well, maybe did they include their side of the issue or something? But yes, I'm good with it. Sorry.
We're looking at it
I know.
neutrally.
I know.
All right, item 10, that the proposed use will not conflict with, but will further the objectives of the City of North Augusta Comprehensive Plan. The applicant states that yes, the proposed use will not conflict with, but will further the objectives of the City of North Augusta Comprehensive Plan. Our project does this in the following ways. Chapter 4 of the plan, economic development. While the listed priority investment areas may not specifically address the location of our project site, but it does lay out the city's intent to redevelop underutilized big box parking lots and buildings for new investment. This is exactly what the applicant wants to bring to North Augusta. Item 2, Chapter 9 of the plan, natural resources, goals and strategies, section 9.1 through 9.2. The applicant wants North Augusta to maintain their Tree City USA designation. The applicant will help the city do this by adding additional trees along the perimeter of the site, the buffers, and the parking lot. Protecting the Savannah River is paramount. Our business does not use or have a need for any chemicals or pollutants that might run into the stormwater system and cause issues in the river. All sewage from the on-site restroom facilities is through the city services. No dumping will be allowed on-site from any RVs. Staff notes that the surrounding property is suitable for commercial uses and complies with the comprehensive plan. Any issues with item 10? I'm good. Everybody good? All right. Number 11. This is the last one. The use will not materially endanger the public health, safety, and welfare if located, designed, and proposed to be operated according to the information submitted. A denial by the BZA based exclusively on this language shall include explicit findings regarding the way in which granting this special section would endanger public health, safety, and welfare. The applicant states that this project will not materially endanger the public health, safety, or welfare of the community near or around the project site. On the contrary, we are developing the site to improve on its existing condition of safety. The site is currently not a haven for anyone to be inside. The roof leaks significantly. There's both lead and asbestos present on site, and the abandonment of the building has caused it to fall in severe disrepair. The applicant wants to improve the building, the roof, and the parking lot per the design submitted while creating a business that will offer better curb appeal as well as safety and assurance that our business will keep possessions secured on site is a benefit to this community. So that's item 11. Anybody have any issues with number 11? No issues. Okay, so we have found in the affirmative of all 11. So do have a motion
Yes, sir.
for this, okay?
Based on the findings previously discussed and voted on, I move that application number ZE 24-003, a request by S3 Partners for a special exception to section 18.8 be granted.
Second? No discussion? All right. All in favor, raise your hand. It's unanimous. So the use is approved. Special exception. Okay. Now, the next one. ZB 24-008. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So this is.
Excuse me just a second, Mr. Chairman.
Variance. 4-.12.8.2, whatever. This is a variance. All right, so we're gonna, this ZV 24-008 is the variance. You've already heard the variance requirements from the previous one, is that correct? Okay,
Yes.
so I'll skip over that. I'll read through those again. All right. This is the variance to reduce the impervious requirement of the existing facility. Currently, the development code allows for a maximum of 70% impervious area on the site. The applicant proposing to reduce the current impervious area from 92% to 76%. Okay. Following is analysis required by North Augusta Development Code Section 5.1.4.5.b. Staff commentary is included. So we got 1, 2, 3, 8, 10 items to go through again. So, number 1, an unnecessary hardship exists. The applicant states that a hardship is created by both the existing property being fully developed as well as the development code standards required today versus the previous code. The other hardship is circulation requirements around the facility to accommodate larger vehicles, including fire rescue equipment. Staff notes that the previous development code adopted in 2008 states that the impervious surface ratio was 0.7 or 70% for TC thoroughfare commercial. The 2023 North Augusta Development Code states that the impervious surface ratio is 0.7 or 0.7%. Staff notes that the subject property was a Kmart department store, which was construction in the 1970s. Unnecessary hardship exists. You have any comments there?
I'm good.
Give it a hardship. I'm good too. Item 2, there are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to a particular piece of property. The applicant states that the extraordinary and exceptional conditions related to this development, consisting of a 110,000 square foot structure, larger parking lot, and perimeter drive aisle. The development was constructed, as we believe, in the 1970s and has aspects of its design that are far outdated. Staff notes that a majority of the existing structure has been vacant for an extended period of time, being previously a Kmart and antique mall. So do we?
I'm good.
Good? You're good? We're good with number 2. The conditions do not generally apply to the other property in the vicinity. The applicant states that this site is unique in its size, location, access, and layout. It has sat in disrepair for decades and struggles for most developers due to the size of the lot, building, and the overall development costs. Nearly every building around this site has similar conditions related to the impervious percentages and likely do not meet the current development code. Staff notes that the surrounding properties are a convenience store with gasoline sales, a fireworks store, an auto body shop, and residential to the rear of the property, which were all developed before the adoption of the current development code.
I'm good.
Good. Okay with it? You're good with that? I am too. Item 4. Because of the conditions, their applications traveling to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict their utilization of the property, and the applicant states that the development code does not specifically speak or take into account existing conditions like this or the surrounding developed sites from decades ago. We have made significant reductions in the impervious areas in an attempt to meet the code. And the staff notes that the applicant has proposed on the conceptual plan to reduce the impervious area from the current 92% to approximately 76% by creating more open space with the planting, additional landscaping, and a water quality pond on the property.
I'm good.
I'm okay with that. You good with number 4? I'm good. You good? Okay. So we're good with 4. Number 5. The authorization of a variance will not be a substantial detriment to the adjacent property or to the public good, and the character of the district will not be harmed by the granting of the variance. Harm to the character of the district may include structures that are significantly out of scale and the creation of potential for the creation of excessive noise, light, traffic, or incompatible late night activity. The applicant states that the granting of this variance will not substantially cause any detriment to the adjacent properties or proposed development, and business type have not activities that create either noise, odors, light pollution, traffic, or unsightly conditions. Furthermore, these include 1, added landscape area, 2, improved stormwater system, 3, added detention and water quality pond, and 4, improved stormwater culvert or entrance point.
Yes, and do we have to read all that? Because a lot of it's over 3 feet from previous.
Oh, is it?
Yes. It's gonna probably be like that on, do we have to read everything?
And that's your call, Mr. Chairman.
I just, like I said, a lot of it's kind of talking about improvements and parking and building and lighting, and if not, it'll be past my bedtime.
All right. So
I'm good
I'll
with that.
summarize. The applicant's proposed development would include a vast list of improvements that will meet and exceed all the current requirements. That includes monitored access system, additional landscaping, enhanced architecture, LED lighting, controlled access point, and security cameras, and repair of access drive and drainage ditch. Staff notes that there is a very little light pollution or noise pollution on the subject property, with a majority of the property being vacant. Staff notes that there is a current event center on the subject property, the BEC Plex, that serves as a venue space for various events.
I'm good.
I'm good. I'm good with it. You good?
Good.
All right. 6 is signs, so we skip that. 7 is Board of Zoning Appeals may not grant a variance, the effect of which would be to allow the establishment of use not otherwise permitted in the zoning district. Many warehouses, self-storage, or special exception in commercial zoning districts within the state regulatory limits to extend physically a non-conforming use of land. The variance does not extend a physically non-conforming use of land. And C, to change zoning district boundaries shown on the official zoning map. The application does not pose a change to the zoning district boundaries. Any questions, any issues with number 8? Oh, we're good there. Oh, 7, I'm sorry. 7's good. Good with 7. 8, if the unnecessary hardship is self-imposed by the applicant, the variance should not be granted. The applicant states that the hardship is not self-imposed. The site actually has a large amount of asphalt available for parking. The hardship is imposed by the standards as it relates to the actual needed parking by our specific use. The proposal is to provide additional landscaping, open space detention requirements that existing developed site does not have today. Any issues with number 8? Nope. Nope, good with it. Number 9, the fact that the property may be utilized more properly should a variance be granted shall not be considered grounds for a variance. Applicant states the facility will be utilized for self-storage, boat, RV facility, and the variance if granted will not be used to increase profitability. The staff recognizes that the property will operate as a self-storage facility, and the variance for reduction in impervious area will not be utilized for profitability. Good with that? Good. Good. Everybody good? All right. And number 10. In granting a variance, the Board of Zoning Appeals may attach to it such conditions regarding the location, character, or other features of the proposed building structure or use as the board may consider advisable to promote the public health, safety, or general welfare. Staff recommends approval of this application with the following conditions. This variance, if granted, will apply only to this property and will not apply to any future development on the site should this plan be developed. And number 2, the variance would require that the building footprint be constructed as conceptual shown in the exhibits. Okay, are we good with the conditions?
Yes.
Okay, so we've answered an affirmative for all 10. Do we have a motion to approve?
Yes. Based on the findings previously discussed and voted on, I move that application ZV 24-008, a request by Instant Hotels / S3 Partners pursuant to code 4.12.8.2 be approved with conditions. This variance will apply only to this property and will not apply to any other future development on this site should this plan be developed. The variance would require that the building footprint be constructed as conceptually shown in the exhibits.
Second. Motion and a second. Any other questions? All right. All in favor, raise your hand. Yep. It's unanimous. That variance is approved. All right. Is this the last one?
No.
Oh. Well, I'm misplacing those.
This is 004.
Got
Major
Two
waiver.
more. These are waivers.
All right, this is a waiver. So this is 004. Okay. All right, so this is the waiver. MW is 24-004. This is a waiver on the parking. This is the parking waiver.
Or variance. It's written like a variance.
So what is it? So yeah, just like a variance.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be a variance.
Okay. All right.
We still use the same number, project number?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So item 1. So, all right. So number 1 is unnecessary hardship exists. The applicant states the hardships created by the development code are diversified in nature as they relate to our proposed location. With an existing building structure developed by outdated development standards, the applicant believes that the parking requirements within the code are excessive to the actual use and operations of a self-storage boat RV facility. The requirement would have the development provide an oversized paved area, reducing the open space and landscape buffer on site, while the actual parking need is significantly below the code standard outlined. Staff notes that table 8.1 of the development code states that for many warehouse self-storage, there's a minimum number of vehicle spaces of 4 spaces plus 1 per 10 units and a maximum number of vehicle spaces of 6 spaces plus 1.5 per 10 units. And so, so the hardship would be there's more spaces required.
That trip thing.
Yeah, and that's an industry standard, right?
Yep.
So we've seen that in other applications. So I'm good with 1. Anybody else good with 1?
Yes.
I'm good with it. You're good. Item 2, there are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property. The applicant states that this site is unique in its size, location, access, and layout. It's sat in disrepair for decades, and potential developers have struggled to advance modifications due to the size of the lot. Overall building condition and how to meet all of the current development code requirements. Staff notes using the 11th edition of the ITE trip generation rates manual indicates that the proposed 792 units, according to the conceptual drop plan, the trip generation would exceed more than 140 daily trips with a total of 10 peak morning hour trips and 13 peak evening afternoon hour trips, which would require more parking spaces than what the conceptual plan proposes. Any comments there? You good?
Good.
You good. All right, number 3. The conditions do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. The applicant states that the condition should not generally apply to any other property in the vicinity. It's specific to our proposed use and operation. The variance request is not parcel related, but it's standards related. The requirement of 1 space per 10 units will create an excessive parking requirement for this development and will be detrimental to the project and the community. Staff notes that the North Augusta Development Code, Table 8.1, parking, loading, and stacking states that the use for all proposed meeting warehouses and self-storage facilities require a minimum parking requirement of 4 spaces plus 1 per 10 units and a maximum of 6 spaces plus 1.5 per 10 units. I'm okay with item 3. Good?
Good.
Good? Item 4, because of the conditions, the application is chaptered to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. The applicant states that the current market studies illustrate that our proposed use does not demand the amount of parking required by the development code. By requiring this excessive amount of parking, which will never be needed or used, the use of the property is restricted to an unreasonable degree. The applicant would be required to construct a much larger parking lot than the applicant would not want or need. Staff notes that the applicant provided a parking analysis from the ITE Parking Generation Manual 5th edition that states that for 792 units, there will be a peak hour parking demand that will be 10-hour parking spaces for the weekday needed and 8 parking spaces needed for the weekend. North Augusta Development Code requires a minimum of 84 parking spaces for many warehouses. So we good with,
Okay
item
with that.
4?
Good with that.
You good? 4. We're good with 4. Yep. Item 5, the authorization of variance will not be substantial detriment to adjacent property or the public good, and the character of the district will not be harmed by the granting of the variance. Harm to the character of the district may include structures that are significantly out of scale and the creation of potential for the creation of excessive noise, light traffic, or incompatible late night activity. The applicant states that the granting of this waiver will not substantially cause any detriment to the adjacent properties. The applicant proposed development and business type has no activities or projections that would create a shortfall of parking. Furthermore, these include minimal traffic impact. The granting of this exception will not substantially increase traffic to the property, as the average flow to a self-storage facility is minimal, averaging only 4 cars per hour, significantly less than the traffic generated by the regular Kmart. Prohibited repairs or any outdoor parts, material storage. For applicants' development and management leases will not allow for permit of boats and RV repairs, unlicensed or unmanaged units to be stored, reducing the likelihood of unsightly activities and preserving the visual character of the district. Staff notes that excessive parking spaces will produce more impervious surface area, which will lessen the amount of green space for the proposed development. You got any issues with number 5? Nope. Nope, you're good. We're good with 5. 6 is signs. We'll skip it. Doesn't apply. 7, the Board of Zoning Appeals may not grant a variance to the effect which would be allow the establishment of a use not otherwise permitted in the zoning district, self-storage facilities, or a special exception in thoroughfare commercial zoning district within stated regulatory limits. B, to extend physically a non-conforming use of the land. The variance does not extend a physically non-conforming use of the land. And C, to change zoning district boundaries as shown on the official zoning map, and this application does not propose a change to the zoning district boundaries. So we're all good with 7 now. So you were good there. 8, there unnecessary hardship is self-imposed by the applicant. The variance should not be granted. The applicant states that the hardship is not self-imposed. The site actually has a large amount of asphalt available for parking. The hardship is posed by the standards that it relates to the actual need of parking by a specific use. The proposal is to provide additional landscaping, open space, and detention requirements that the existing developed site does not have today. Staff notes that the hardship is created by the minimum requirement of parking spaces for minimum warehouse storage facilities as stated in the development code. You got any issues with number 8?
No.
Again, they're using a industry standard to change, provide less spaces. I'm good with 8 too. Number 9, the fact that property may be utilized more properly should a variance be granted should not be considered grounds for variance. The applicant states that the facility be utilized for a self-storage boat RV facility and the variance is granted will not be used to increase profitability. Staff recognizes that the property will operate as a self-storage facility and the variance for reduction in parking will not be utilized for profitability. We good with 9?
Yep.
I'm good. 10, in granting a variance, the Board of Zoning Appeals may attach to it such conditions regarding the location, character, or other features of proposed building structures or use as the board may consider advisable to promote the public health, safety, or general welfare. The applicant stated that noted we acknowledge the need to add specific conditions and look to review and discuss those accordingly. Staff recommends approval of this application with the following condition. This variance, if granted, will apply only to this property and will not apply to any future development on the site should this plan be developed. The variance would require, number 2, the variance will require that the building footprint be constructed as conceptual shown in the exhibits. Do you have any, those conditions sound good to y'all?
Yes, sir.
So we're good with number 10. So we've answered in the affirmative for all 10. Do we have a
Yes. Yes, I'll make the motion. Based on the findings previously discussed and voted on, I move that application MV 24-004, a request by S3 Partners for the variance pursuant to section North Augusta Development Code, Article 8, parking of the North Augusta Development Code be granted with the following. This variance will apply only to this property and will not apply to any other future development on the site should it be developed. 2, the variance would require that the building footprint be constructed as conceptually shown in the exhibits.
All right, we got a motion. We got a second. Any other discussion? Please raise your hand. All right, we're unanimous. So that variance is approved. Now the last one. If I can find it. Aha. This is MW 24-005. Is this a waiver?
Yes.
Open space?
Major waiver.
Yes.
Okay, this is a major waiver. I'm gonna skip, since we've already read all that, I'm gonna skip that and jump right into, so this is a waiver for open spaces. Open space requirement. All right, so then we got, okay, good, one page. First is a criteria, is a waiver criteria, though. A, the waiver granted is the minimal waiver needed to address a site or design issue. And B, the waiver does not authorize or use or type of development not otherwise permitted. So I guess we're good there. That's what that means. All right. All right, item 2, additional findings required. In addition to the general findings noted above for all specific exceptions, special exceptions, no special exception permit shall be issued for a major waiver unless the specific findings of fact as noted below are made. Under general findings, the first one is applicant has provided information sufficient to prove the need for and allow the board to assess the impacts of the requested waiver. The staff has determined that the application is sufficient to review the waiver request.
Yep.
Good with that? Okay, we're good with that. The second one is where applicable, the applicant demonstrates through documentation or studies based on generally accepted engineering principles that adherence to the standard provided by this article would pose a threat to health and safety or would undermine a policy set forth in the comprehensive plan or the purposes underlying the standard. Staff notes that the 2021 comprehensive plan states that green spaces have a significantly positive impact on individual health and well-being. The applicant is proposing to increase open space from the current 0.1 acres to approximately 2.65 acres. North Augusta Development Code Article 7, landscaping buffers, open space, and trails requires a minimum of 1 square foot per 3 square foot of open space for non-residential areas. The applicant states that they are working with engineering to add additional landscaping to beautify the property and enhance its curb appeal, creating an attractive entrance off major highways and roads to further contribute to the visual enhancement of the property. Staff notes that proposed visual enhancements of the property will encourage more open space and green space for the subject property. Staff recommends approval of this application with the following conditions. Well, we'll be okay with that state.
Yes.
Are we all okay with that, what I just read?
Yes.
Okay. Staff recommends approval of this application with the following conditions. The first is this waiver, if granted, will apply only to this property and will not apply to any further development on the site should this plan be developed. And the second is the waiver would require that building footprint be constructed as conceptual shown in the exhibits. And that's all. So
I'm good.
Good with those conditions, yeah. So we're good with the conditions. So that's it. So that's all there is to it.
I need to make a motion.
Okay, make a motion.
Based on the findings previously discussed and voted on, I move that application number MW24-005, a request by Instant Hotels / S3 Partners, with the it's not a variance, this is a major waiver request of Article 7, Section 7.11, open space, be granted with the following conditions. This waiver applies only to the property and will not apply to any other future development on the site should this plan be developed. 2, the waiver would require that the building footprint be constructed as conceptually shown in the exhibits.
You got a motion? Second. Second. Any other discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. We got a unanimous, so it's approved. Whew.
Hey, you got here halfway through.
He had it easy. Still didn't bring us in.
All right, so that sets a record probably. So hopefully there's good luck.
Yeah. Don't come back. And if you do, can you shorten your little descriptions and applications a little bit? Please.
All right, thank you. Anything else we got to cover? Hopefully not.
I do have, I'm not sure of this. I could be wrong, but I believe we did not get any applications for next month.
That's a miracle.
So. Well, I was hoping it would, but it also gave y'all more work because some of these would have been done at the plan review stage of the waivers would have required people to do the engineering study, do all that design before they requested the waiver at the planning commission. This streamlines it and it's bumping a little bit more your way. Well, you're welcome.
All right.
I know how much you love it. I've been here since 8 this morning myself. So.
All right.